Welcome back. How you doing, Parth?
Doing well, doing well. I just every time
Doing
we do
well?
that clap, I hit the mic instead of hitting like the desk.
Is that better?
It's
Or
so
do you
much
do that on
easier. I don't even
purpose?
have to hit it. I just tap it. It just
You just tap
goes.
it?
Yeah.
That's a good idea. I don't know why I'm clapping my hands together. They actually hurt. All right, so here we got another episode, Odyssey Report. I guess it's going to be kind of chill.
Yeah.
We don't do as much research for the report as we do for the academy.
Yeah, that's true.
So I guess these are kind of just uh, casual conversations for us too. I don't know about the audience, but they can listen in if they want.
Yep.
And yeah, what kind of person would listen to our podcast, to be honest? That's interesting.
I think someone who is around our age and typically just likes to listen to conversations about two people thinking things through, because I think there are a lot of people who, they fear getting too deep into conversation with anybody about what they feel, what's really going on in their lives, because they have to put up this social front, right? And so this is sort
Yeah.
of, I guess, I don't think there's a lot of people having conversations that actually cut the bullshit out and get to the root of a lot of these things that people are going through or talk about. And that's why you get forums online where people are talking about it. But in person, I think very few people actually engage in this type of conversation.
It's very rare. I mean, the whole idea behind social media is to really paint your perfect self,
Oh,
right?
yeah. Oh, yeah.
In respect to Instagram, respect to Snapchat, it's never really being genuine, and I think everybody really recognizes that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, in respect to my own experience, I've never had as many deep conversations with another person other than you.
Mm.
Just genuine,
Yeah.
casual conversations that are real.
Yeah.
I think what's very difficult for people to have these types of conversations is because one, they don't have that individual that they can talk to that they feel okay with.
Mm.
Two, they're very, very what's the word I'm looking for? They feel awkward. They're very hesitant
Right.
about just talking about personal stuff because if you just meet somebody, or if you've known someone for like a month, and you unload all of this like emotional stuff and these topics and what happened to you, all these personal hardships, it may drive the other person away, and I think most people are afraid of that rejection. You know what I mean?
Right, right. So I think there's a really key saying here, and actually Jason Capital taught me this. Disclosure
Uh-huh.
is disarming, meaning a lot of people have a tough time opening up and just being honest with people that they randomly talk to. And some people, when they're on the receiving end of someone who is disclosing something about themselves that's making themselves more vulnerable.
Yeah.
They don't know how to take that, and so I think it's sort of like but it works on both ends. You see what I'm saying? When one person is disclosing something about themselves, maybe it's something personal, maybe it's something vulnerable, it automatically creates a bond that most people don't have. And I think that's something that a lot of people lack nowadays. Again, part of it is maybe social media, the whole facade that you have to put on, the mask. But this is what the trait of a genuine person is, an authentic person is that they're able to be vulnerable and they're able to cut the bullshit and just talk about, something that's real, something that people are afraid to talk about in public or out loud.
Yeah.
I forgot what the point I was going to make was, but being
Jason
vulnerable.
Capital?
Yeah. Disclosure is disarming, right? That's how
Yeah.
he always talks about how the most magnetic trait for a person to have is being authentic, is authenticity. And
Right.
the way you can do this, one way is to, when you're just having a random conversation with someone, disclose something about yourself. Talk about something that most people will not admit about themselves, right?
Yeah.
Just get a little bit vulnerable, and then don't go too much, because you have to also look for the feedback, right? Like, some people just don't know how to receive that. Some people are like, look, bro, I didn't ask, for your personal, for your personal life here, or something like that. But
It's a little too much. Yeah.
yeah. So, there's a little dance that happens. It's like it's like a give and take. You become a little vulnerable, you get something back, and then you go back and forth.
Well, yeah, I think most people have this messed up idea nowadays in terms of relationships, because there's hardly any genuine friendships or real friendships, I would say.
Right.
It's a lot of it's really a lot of tension in respect to a lot of relationships because you have all these social circles, you have all the social media amplifying that type of tension, and within the social circle, so it's very hard to be genuine
Yeah.
with people that you know, and I think what's really keeping people back is just that fear of rejection, like I was saying.
Yeah.
They don't want to be they don't want to feel disarmed right off the bat.
Yes.
So it's kind of like in a relationship, you kind of ease into it. Like you maybe go on 1, 2, 3 dates, and you get to know each other, and then maybe something happens. In fact, I don't know what the dating dynamic is now, to be honest. I haven't done it in a long time, and I know you were very involved in social dynamics and being social, going to parties, and figuring out game and how to
Right.
communicate effectively.
Yeah.
So you're much more experienced at that than I am.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, I mean, in every social setting, whether it be trying to find a boyfriend or a girlfriend or trying to find a friend to talk to,
Yeah.
it's difficult
Oh, yeah.
nowadays for
Oh,
a
yeah.
lot of people our age.
Yeah. Yeah. It is.
Was it difficult?
Go ahead.
Sorry. Was it difficult for us to like get along? I don't
I don't think
remember.
so. Yeah, I don't think so at all. I mean,
It's been such a long time.
oh yeah, it's been a long time, but I don't think so.
Yeah.
I remember, I mean, I remember talking to you at the club that we were involved in, Honors Ambassadors, and I just remember talking. That's it. Like I don't remember. I remember actually. You know what? One thing that I disclosed about myself at the time was something
Right,
that I was
I
going
just
through.
remembered.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
the high
prom.
school drama that they were
Yes.
going to with the girl and the prom and how like she was going with another guy and you felt like really used.
Yes. Back in the beta days.
Yeah, back in the dark days.
Yeah.
You opened up to me
Yes.
at that time,
Yeah.
and I think you chose to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think we knew each other that well. Like we took a class together, and we were like classmates, so we were like acquaintances.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
a question for you: what made you want to disarm yourself, essentially, or to feel the need to open up?
Yeah, two things I'd say probably. One, I felt comfortable with you. Just the presence that I think you brought was, I think you were listening. You weren't like, I could feel that you weren't really judging, which
Right.
I usually tend to close off a little bit. I try not to close off too much, but I close off just a smidge when someone is automatically coming from a place of judgment, right? So again, Jason, going back to Jason Capital, man, this guy, there's a saying he has: trade judgment for curiosity. Meaning, whenever you go into a social interaction, whenever you're talking to people, go in with this sort of assumption of curiosity. Don't judge the person for what they're saying, but be curious about it. Like, I wonder why. I wonder why that person is saying this, or I wonder what's going through their head, or what really that feels like. Is this applicable to my life? You know, like that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So that's one thing, right? So you were very open with that. I don't think you were judging at all, which is kind of what allowed me to say those things. Secondly, is just at that time I was transitioning to a lot of this stuff. I had just been exposed to, again, Jason Capital's works, right? So like I had been exposed to all this stuff, and I was practicing like just putting myself out there and being social and just talking to people. And I kind of naturally just did it, I think. I never knew about the whole saying of like disclosure is disarming until like last year. But back in those days, it was just like these people are, for the most part, friendly enough. And I would just talk and say whatever was on my mind without too much filter. Now, obviously, there's certain filters, you know, things that I'm not going to say that like would offend the other person like crazy or anything. But generally speaking, I'm going to tell them the truth, or I'm going to tell them what I feel or what I'm going through or whatever. And then,
Yeah.
because you know what it is? Here, I'll tell you this. When someone says like, you see someone that you've known for a while, right? Let's say.
Sure.
They're like, hey, how are you? The typical response is good. And you? You know?
Yeah.
And I
That's
know
a very human thing to do, a very civil thing to do. Yeah.
it's so ingrained in you. It's so natural, right? And even I do it still
Such a
to this
social
day.
norm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, even when you ask me, I'm sure I did it today, right now, during this interaction at the beginning. You probably asked me
Yeah.
how you right,
How are you doing?
and I
Fine.
was
Yeah.
like, good, right? Like that's just a typical thing. Um, I don't always like to say good. Normally, I'm like, okay, that's the typical response anyone can give. Why don't I try something else? Like, okay, I'm feeling a little bit
Okay. Yeah.
euphoric right now. I'm feeling a little bit happy. You're gonna ask like, really, why? Because you get the other person curious, and then it just the conversation just flows naturally,
Just flows
right?
from there. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's what really helps, to be honest. Like, I'll talk to some guys and some girls on campus every now and then, and I'm like, "Oh, how's it going? How are classes?" They're like, "Oh, they're okay."
yeah,
I'm like, "Really? I mean, are they getting to you?" And then they just go off on a rant.
yeah, yeah,
It's just that initial connection of like, okay, I'm open to talking about whatever you want, and it's up to you. My response to that initial greeting, to be honest, like, how are you? Like, I'm doing fine. I always say not bad. I never say I'm
right,
fine or I'm good. I'm always like, oh, not bad,
right.
or
Something different.
something different. Yeah,
Yeah, no, it's good.
uh,
That's good.
yeah. I mean, it's such a habit for people to do that. It's like, I'm doing fine. I'm doing okay. Okay. I think that indicates we're not going to talk about anything
Else.
deep. Yeah, not anything else. It's just we're going to talk like we're coworkers or we're acquaintances and just talk about what we have in common, and that's it.
Yeah, yeah. Which is terrible, I think, because when you can create a genuine,
Very terrible.
you know, I guess bond between two people, it's like I think human interaction, social interaction is a very human thing, and it's very necessary to have like a healthy lifestyle. You need social interactions with like at least a few close friends, you know.
Yeah.
You need to like talk, you know, which I don't think a lot of people do nowadays as much as they used to, maybe because of technology and people are buried in like Netflix or like something else.
Social media, things like that. Yeah, they think that's
Exactly.
the alternative to having a close relationship, I believe. So
Yes, yes.
they scale it, right? So they scale it on the amount of follows they have, the amount of likes they have, the amount of attention they get on social media.
Right,
That's what's
right.
of value in respect to a social relationship to them.
Yes, yeah.
That's what I think. Just a
Yeah,
theory.
100%.
Um,
No, I agree.
yeah, it's every now and then it's hard to get people to open up. Every now and when I meet people here and there, sometimes they're just not in the mood. Sometimes they just don't want to take that extra step to like get to know each other better.
Right.
Um, but every time with me, I've noticed most of the time, actually not every time,
Mm.
I'm able to have that conversation with another person,
Mm.
and it feels good. It feels great.
Yeah.
I may be an antisocial guy,
Yeah.
and I know I'm off social media and I'm off the grid, and I'm not really that extroverted compared to you,
Right.
but I'm not a complete loner.
Right,
I'm not a
right,
complete
right.
like outcast.
Yeah.
Because there are times where I'm like, okay, I feel lonely.
Yeah.
There are those times, and everyone has those times.
Oh yeah.
Because it's a human thing to have some kind of social relationship with another
Mm.
individual.
I would argue even that people who seem very social at times, but they're very fake, like as in they're all up on social media only. I would argue that some of those people probably feel even lonelier because they don't have an actual, like, real connection with a lot of people, around them. Maybe they have
Oh
a
yeah,
terrible relationship with family, friends, and whatever, but on social media they seem like they're having the time of their life, but it's not as deep, it's not as genuine. Okay, I'll tell you one thing. I was
yeah.
actually, and I'm not going to get too deep into this because we just talked about this before about how we don't want to disclose too much. Like, there's one thing
Go
that I
for
don't
it.
want to disclose about, but I was talking to my ex-girlfriend, and she actually told me that she thoroughly enjoys. She had a disclosing moment herself at a certain
Yeah.
point.
Uh-huh.
Because we just randomly started talking about like capitalism and socialism, and like I don't know how this conversation topic came up, but it's what kind of what happens when you have a free flowing conversation. And she was saying like I really enjoy our conversations, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, this is insane because it seems like when someone says something like that, and I could tell it was very genuine. It was like coming from a place of like, wow, I like keep going. Like I feel like she was telling me like a lot of the things that I was telling her, she felt like she was being educated on a lot of things that normally people don't know. So she's like, I really enjoy what you're talking about. Just keep talking. And I was like, wow, that's something different. I'm assuming you don't have a lot of friends or people in your life that are like that. I think having the key to free flowing conversation just comes down to you have to not really care about what people are going to think of you, when you say it. And you also have to have some sort of social cue, obviously, like understand like how like subcommunications, the way you talk, how fluent you are in your speaking ability, those sort of things matter also. But deep down, a deeper reason is that people just need to not be afraid of judgment. That's literally what it is. It's like the mask that you wear for society. Society doesn't expect you to be perfect. You shouldn't be perfect. In fact, if you appear too perfect, you are violating a law of power. But
Yeah.
but generally speaking, like society shouldn't expect you to, and it doesn't expect you to be perfect. That's why people need to talk and have these conversations. Very important stuff, but healthy, I think.
It is healthy. I think it is. There's this cliche of, oh, no one's perfect. And it is true.
Yeah.
But most people who, what was I going to say? They're not perfect. People tend to hide it often, right? So that imperfection.
Yeah.
And I think the people who are really good at hiding that are the people we're talking about who are really social on social media, right? So all the Instagram models, all the famous people on Snapchat.
Right.
I think those kind of people are experts at hiding a lot of suffering that they're going through, a lot of drama that they're going through, and a lot of pain that they're going through.
Right.
So social media has given them a ventilation system to use, essentially. So it provides them with that validation,
Right.
instant validation and constant validation, and it provides them the happiness, virtual happiness,
Yeah.
which we know won't last long. But it works for some people.
Yeah.
And I think it works for a lot of young girls, to be honest. A lot of them are on social media. I'm talking girls that are like 14, 15. Maybe they first get a phone. The first thing they do is get on social media. That's the thing to do. You get
Right.
into the social group. You become as active as possible. Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook.
Yeah.
You share what music you listen to. You share your vacation pictures. What you do in your spare time. How you're such a cool person.
Yeah.
It becomes a real game. So, what was I going to say with this? They don't tend to express a lot of their genuine suffering and their genuine pain.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's
They're
very
afraid to, I
unattractive.
think. Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's very
exactly.
unattractive.
And I think that's so incorrect. People say that it's like, they think that it's so unattractive, but I would say that it's the opposite. In fact, it's so different, when you can open up. I think, in fact, people are dying to have conversations like that. I'll tell you this from my social encounters, in parties and things like that. The second I meet someone, I start to disclose things. If they ask me, hey man, like, what's your name? How are you? What do you do? And okay, I'll give you an example. When I went to Santa Barbara, I met this dude who was like, he was like 35 years old, okay? And he was doing this like dentistry program, like dentist. He was going to be a dentist and everything. So normally people would say like, oh, you're going to become a dentist. Cool. Like they wouldn't really say too much about it too in depth. I started talking about like my experience at the dentist and how I recently went and got my actually I had inflamed gums, and that's why like every time I would brush my teeth would start to bleed. My gums would bleed a little bit,
You told me about that, yeah.
Yeah, and so I went to the dentist, and I had my gums, the inflamed part of my gums removed with like a laser. And I would tell him this. I'm like, have you done that before? Have you performed that sort of thing on a person? Because I remember at one point, the dentist was like, kind of using the laser and whatever. He gave me a mirror, by the way. He gave me a mirror to look at my teeth while he was doing it. And it was kind of scary because he was like taking off all the skin, right? And it was bleeding like crazy. And at one point, my skin started to smoke. Like there was smoke coming out of my mouth. And I got a little, I was like, okay, whoa, buddy,
You always get that
hold
feeling
on.
that is. You know what you're doing?
Yeah, seriously. I'm like, do you really know what you're doing here? I don't want to like have my mouth catch on fire. So,
Yeah, it's always a battle going through that kind of stuff.
yeah. So back in Santa Barbara, I started talking to this guy about it, and he pulled up his phone and started showing me like pictures of like teeth that he's removed, and I don't know. It just we got into this whole conversation about it. I forgot the main point what I was going to say, but asking questions, commenting on what they're saying, going deeper. I think that part of the reason people stop themselves from that is because they think, oh, this person doesn't want to talk to me. Oh, this person, why would they be interested in what I have to say? I'm probably going to get shut down or something like that. I think that's where a problem is, because from what I've experienced, every time I go out and I talk to someone like this, they're super happy to do it. They're like really into the conversation, and I'm like, wow, this is great. So I think that's a key thing, in socializing.
I think that's the mentality at parties, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
I don't go to a lot of parties, but I could theorize that there's that genuine desire to have some type of
Interaction.
real relationship,
Yeah.
or yeah, some kind of like what's the word for it? Deep conversation in general.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they're looking for something greater in respect to human interaction when it comes to a party, right? They either want to have fun with another person, or they want to get to know someone a little better. They probably want to get intimate with another person that they know,
Right.
or that they're going to meet. So
Yeah.
I think most people in college, they think that is the main event to do that, or to get that kind of social connection. I think that's not always the best way to go about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think most freshmen are into that mentality where, you go to parties, you have fun, you have a few drinks, get to be a little loose for once in your life, right? You're independent, you're on your own, you're meeting new people, you don't know anybody, so there's a lot of discovery to be explored.
Yeah. You know what I think it is? A lot of it, when you
Yeah.
go to parties, I think the interactions that people have, they're so, how do I explain it? They're like,
They're desperate.
I mean, I don't want to say they're desperate. I think, okay, how do I'm trying to like think of about exactly what it is, like the root of it. Okay, yeah. So, what happens is when you go to parties and things like that, people typically have conversations that are just surface level. And it's like, okay, if I go, I'm just going to go party. I'm going to go, yay, 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 drink, 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 whatever, blah, 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 bullshit, bullshit, bullshit. And that's, I think, not a good party. You can have fun doing that stuff. You can have energy coming in from that stuff. You can have positivity coming in from all the energy that's, around you. But again, this is what I typically do at parties. It's like, go to the corner, or not go to the corner, obviously, but like take someone to the corner and just talk to them. Sit down, have a conversation, see how their life is actually going. Just one person. Sometimes I don't even focus on the rest. It's like 1, 2, 3, maybe even 4 people. There are certain times when you can go out and you can yell and scream and party and whatever, but save that for, I guess, when you're either super drunk or when, you just feel like it. But for the most part, I think my favorite thing to do at parties is just to talk and have a conversation.
Many people don't do that.
Yeah.
Is that safe to say? I think.
I would say so, yeah.
Yeah. Why do people attend parties most of the time? Alcohol. I think that's
Alcohol.
one.
It's a little bit fun. Some people just stand there in the
Girls.
corner. Yeah, girls.
Yeah, that's also another thing. Like the more girls, the better. Um, I remember a friend of mine telling me, and you know this friend too. The one thing that makes a party is two things: the alcohol and the girls.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Oh yeah.
and that makes
That's
sense.
one thing. Yeah.
Honestly, does. So yeah, I think it's a different dynamic altogether, to be honest, and it can be it can be so different in each case.
Yeah.
Uh, it could be a different kind of party. Like it can be a social gathering in respect to a club. It can be a like a frat party, which get kind of crazy. It
Dude,
could be a
see,
little get together.
this is why I don't like going to clubs in particular because
Me
their
neither.
music is
Yeah.
so loud and it's like you can't talk to anybody. You know, you're just there dancing and I don't know, it's just I mean, it's fun every now and then, but it's like come on, man, I'd rather just sit down and have a conversation. Like, let's talk. Fuck, man. Is that too much to
Have
ask
you been to
for?
clubs?
Oh
Have you been to a lot
yeah.
of
Oh
clubs?
yeah.
Yeah.
Not a lot, but I've been, some close
Enough.
friends of mine like Nick and us we like to go to clubs and I guess just party, hit on girls, like that sort of thing. I mean, the hit on girls part is more him than me, but I mean, we just go in there, and I hate it to be honest. I'm like, I don't even feel like I'm having that much fun to be honest in a club setting where the music is too loud. A bar is different, I think, because again, like you
Well,
can
because you're
talk to
sitting
people.
down, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
you're
can sit
talking to people.
down, you can talk to people. If you're really trying to hit on girls, I think it's way better that you actually have a conversation instead of, you know, just bullshitting, I guess, and dancing.
Well, yeah, I don't think the idea at clubs is to actually talk.
Yeah, exactly, which I don't like.
Hence the music.
Yeah.
I've never been to a club. Uh, yeah, that does make sense to be honest.
Mm.
And it's funny because we can't really think how a girl thinks in respect to why they attend a party or why they go to a club or what they're really trying to do when they go to a party.
Mm.
Uh, I think a part of it is they want the attention, right? That's the main thing.
I would say so, yeah. A
So
huge
they want
portion
some
of it
kind
is
of
that.
attention. A huge portion of it, yeah. So they want some kind of attention in respect to going out, dressing well or dressing to impress. And
Yeah, yeah.
with that attention comes the validation and the value.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so that really, it it really, um, it motivates them, right, to feel good about themselves and to feel better about life in general. Um, you're
Mm.
forgetting about the stresses in life and the pain, so you go out and feel somewhat of value.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I think that's the idea there.
Yeah, I would say with the girl, it's like social value for sure goes up when you're able to socialize very well. You're outgoing, Um, what's it called? What else? So there's that, and then there's the idea of
uh,
hitting on guys, right? Certain girls will go out to get the attentions of a guy, or who knows? It could even be to make another guy jealous, or it could be just to support another friend of theirs that's a girl who wants to hit on a guy or whatever, or it could just be to have fun, I guess. But I feel like usually there is some sort of agenda, because I mean they can have fun, right? Like that's one thing for sure. But I think a huge reason is attention. Yeah, and I
I think
think
the biggest part of it
yeah.
is, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, go
A
for it. Go
biggest
for it.
part of it is the mystery in respect to what gets them so excited. It's like anything can happen, kind
Yeah,
of like a girls' night. Um,
yeah,
it's like, okay, we don't know what's gonna happen, but that's the best part.
yes, yeah,
Uh, so kind of walking that tightrope in respect
mm-hmm.
to unsafety and danger and a lot of teenage girls do that. Like they get out of the house, they get home kind of late. They were
Yeah,
out like partying or they're out hanging out with friends. It's a level of independence that they feel. I think that's really important.
right. I
But it
mean, I
could be
would,
a number of things, to be honest. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So I would say that you know, part of it is, oh crap, I forgot what I was gonna say. My train of thought got lost. Sorry about that. Yeah, go for it.
No worries. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's it's tough to think about because I don't really have much experience in that social setting. Like, I don't really have like a social group of friends to go out and like party every weekend or go to like some place and hang out every weekend.
Right.
Uh, I don't know, to be honest. Maybe it's just on my part. I don't put in the effort as much as I should.
Mm. Do you want to
Because I
put
could
in more
definitely.
effort, or do you want to have more of that, like more of like a, I guess, that type of setting?
Well, it depends, to be honest.
Mm.
Because in respect to myself, I don't have much of a internal need
Mm.
to be that social. You know what I mean? As in, other
Yeah.
people have that need.
Right.
Uh,
Right.
so some people need that kind of social interaction and that getaway for the weekend or something like that. For me, I think I had the discipline to uh, not need that. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Because throughout life, throughout my history, I guess, of my 22 years of age, uh, I really haven't felt the need to feel that social connection, like of going out and just like letting loose. If I feel tense, if I feel stressed out, if I feel lonely, I usually, muscle through it, through my
Mm.
discipline, and just get through it. In my regards, I think that's what keeps me focused on my particular discipline of my studies, going through college.
Yeah.
Uh, so I have that going for me. Because I'm not a very emotional guy every now and then, as you can
Mm.
tell.
Yeah. No.
um, I don't tend to vent a lot. I don't tend to, what's the word I'm looking for? Uh,
Express your emotions.
kind of like that, yeah. Very
Yeah.
stoic, like you've described myself.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I think throughout the years, I've really tried to develop that kind of stoic attitude, that stoic personality,
Yeah.
because I know as I go through life, things are going to get harder, things are going to get tougher,
Mm.
and I'm going to need that discipline to keep me in check, to keep me focused, and to keep me from becoming self-destructive. You know what I mean? Um,
Right.
so if things get really hard, um, if there are lots of impulses and pleasures that can really take me on, like maybe develop an addiction in respect to alcohol or
Yeah.
drugs, or maybe take a wrong path, or maybe get into like an abusive relationship,
Yeah.
I'll have the discipline to fight all of those off and to stay focused. Um, which means I'll have to sacrifice a lot now, to be honest. So I'm
Right.
sacrificing a lot now in respect to, I'm not going out and having fun. I'm not going out and having like a social group, getting to know people a lot better than I should. I'm not putting in a lot of effort into, uh, you know, getting a lot of attention in respect to the social dynamic. Uh,
Yeah.
and I'm not saying like I'm a complete, uh, what's the word looking for?
Robot.
Not a robot, like a superior guy. I'm not trying to say that.
Oh. Oh. I see. I
Um,
see. Yeah.
yeah, it's just, you know, developing is a crucial thing right now, and I
Oh
think
yeah.
everybody's doing that in respect to their own agenda.
Right.
So college students are developing now in respect to, I need to have social connections, so I'm going to go out and go with this group of guys or group of girls and hang out and go to their parties and feel connection and be in that part of that social group, because this will help me develop throughout college. I think they believe that, and there's something wrong with that. You could meet very good people,
Mm.
but everyone has their own agenda for development through college and through their young years, I believe.
Definitely.
Uh, I think that. So I talked about myself, and I forget what I was talking about before.
I forget too.
But yeah, I mean, we could talk about dating for a little bit. We were
Sure.
talking about before how you were attracted to a certain specific ethnicity in respect to girls, and I was
Yeah.
talking about how I noticed a lot of Hispanics around where I am.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. Let's do it.
Not a bad thing. It's just we were talking about that.
Yeah. So you found a post online that was like descriptive.
Oh, okay. I wasn't talking about that, but we can get into that.
Oh, I mean, I guess I think that's interesting to talk about. Yeah.
There's a lot of shit talk on the internet, and
Yeah.
just FYI, word of advice: don't visit 4chan or the dark ends of Reddit or any other forums. Like there's a forum called incels.co. Never visit that, folks.
Oh damn.
Um,
Is
yeah,
it like just a bunch of guys like shit talking or what? Like
that's pretty much what it is. It's a bunch of guys, and I'm pretty sure they're all guys.
yeah.
Um, just shit talking on the world and making a problem out of everything,
Mm,
and it's just it's very toxic, and you really shouldn't, you know, familiarize yourself with those kind of people. Um,
yeah.
so let's see here. The post online was just shit talking on a lot of Mexicans in America. Uh, they were saying things like, Mexican girls, they have the worst genetics. They're short. There's just very generalized ideas, and it's very unfair what they were saying.
Right.
But it was just a bunch of negative comments about specifically Hispanic females.
Mm,
Um, and my opinion on it was very harsh and very unnecessary. But
yeah.
everyone has their own prejudice and their own um, ideas about each race because everyone has their own experience, right? So I can talk about
Yeah.
mine. My experience with a lot of Hispanic girls in general, who are around my age, who are young, um, and just females in general, uh, they're very family oriented
Mm,
through my experience alone. So
yeah.
don't call me out on anything like, oh, you're wrong or something like that.
Yeah. No, it's fine.
So one, very family oriented. They have deep connections to, their internal family and their external family. Every Hispanic girl I've met has a tío, an uncle who like works in construction or who has an alcohol problem, or maybe the uncle is back in Mexico, is trying to get back, or maybe he got deported. Uh,
Yeah.
so there's that kind of stereotype that I've built in my mind. Um, some other things with respect to Hispanic girls that I've experienced that are what else? They're very they're not very social.
Mm,
Um, they're definitely they can be fun in respect to like having a conversation with them, going out with them, hanging out. Um, but most of the time, they're kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Introverted. Let's see, hesitant. They're kind of shy.
mm,
You know what I mean? Um, so they don't like to have deep conversations like we're having most of the time. Uh, what else? Um, I've met a lot of pretty Hispanics. I've met a lot of so-so Hispanics. I don't
yeah.
mean to shit talk on that, but it's just what I've seen throughout the time.
Right.
Um, a lot of Hispanics I've met have boyfriends.
Yeah.
Uh, a lot of them are in relationships or they're in the relationship game.
Right.
So either they're trying to catfish a guy, or they're trying or they're playing some kind of dating game with a guy, or um, they're very involved socially in respect to that.
Yeah.
Uh, but overall, I would say most of the time they're shy. Most of the time they're not very extroverted. Most of the time they're very family oriented.
Right.
Uh, most of the time they are with a boyfriend or in a relationship. Uh, let's switch the dynamic. So
Hmm.
going to Asian girls, my experience with them are usually very smart, smarter than
Mm-hmm.
me. Most of them are. Um, they're very. I could say they're genuine at times. I've had a lot of genuine conversations with Asian girls.
Mm.
And Asian girls, I mean, Chinese, Japanese, Korean, Vietnamese, Filipino,
Right.
Taiwanese. So those kind of Asians. I'm excluding Indians. They're a different
Oh, okay.
uh,
Different type of Asian.
realm, different type overall. I'll get to them.
Yeah.
But for the Asian girls, mostly a lot of them like white guys.
Yeah. Oh,
Um,
100%. I agree with that.
yeah, I've
I've
found
noticed
that.
that. It's like,
Yeah,
like all these Asian girls getting with white guys. Like, why don't they like, why don't they like? I thought about this. I was like, why don't they like, um,
like Indians,
uh,
Hispanics, black.
yeah, or like even Asians, right?
Even
I mean, I know a lot of them do. Like, don't get me wrong. The vast majority of Asian women probably end up in the world with Asian men, right? Given that there's such a huge population in Asia. But point is that you see that a lot of them strive to go for white guys, and
I yeah, it's interesting. I think that is because um, most of the time the white guys in their eyes, and I'm just generalizing here. Don't take me on my word.
sure, yeah,
They view uh, the white guy as an attractive, mysterious type of taboo figure. So
yeah, I would say so. Go on, go on.
they're very unorthodox in respect to their own culture because I think most Asian women when um, when they develop through their younger years, they're not really pushed toward uh, getting a white guy as a boyfriend or as a long term relationship individual.
Mm,
So there's that kind of um, dynamic to it where it's like, oh, you can't have this kind of person. Well, that makes them want them more.
mm,
Um, so there's that. Maybe wealth, maybe that plays a part as well.
yeah,
Usually, a lot of white guys are very successful in terms of finance, or maybe they're very uh, what's the word I'm looking for? They're very emotionally what's the word very emotionally providing, I guess. Like they give them a lot of emotional feeling that other guys don't in respect
mm,
to other types of guys. So you can have white guys who are very talented in
right.
respect to maybe they're very physical or maybe athletic. Maybe they're good at music. Some kind of talent that really attracts this kind of girl.
Yeah,
Uh, what else? Why do you think that is? To be honest, why is it that they
Asian
prefer
girls. Yeah, like
Asian girls? Yeah, with that kind
um,
of
I have a complicated
relationship.
answer to this one. So, um, one, I actually read a little bit about this somewhere, not too long ago, actually, probably a couple months ago, maybe like 4 months ago, maybe. Anyways, point being was that one of the examples that I found was that Filipinos, okay, when the Spaniards came to the Philippines, the average height of the Filipino man was 5'4", and the average height of the Spaniard man was around 5'6" to 5'7", right? They were taller, generally speaking. Um, for whatever various reasons, like environmental reasons, evolutionary reasons, they just evolved differently, right, based on their environment. Um, what happened was Filipino women, all they had known was the Filipino man up until that point. What happened was a lot of them actually found these Spaniard men attractive, and they started to breed with them. They started mating with them. And for it, you can, I guess, boil it down to um, evolutionary. Like, they found that was more like genetically, I guess,
Desirable.
desirable. Yeah, more attractive. And they came in, by the way, conquering. So, I mean, whose side do you want to be on? The people who are being conquered or the conquerors? So, for your own safety and your own sort of, um, how do I put this? Your own safety and your own sort of,
Your own survival, your own
yeah, yes.
status
That's
goes
the,
up.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. That's what I was looking for. Survival. I don't know why I blinked on that, but your own survival. You're going to probably end up as a woman. Then you're going to probably end up wanting to side with the conquerors, right? And you find some way to survive and have offspring that are genetically viable and whatever, right? So status, I guess, was higher for the Spaniards, maybe. Just survival ability maybe was higher because they were the ones conquering, right? And for whatever reasons, right? That those sort of things. I think Asian women also sort of, to a degree, apply that to white people. Being white is sort of the beauty standard, right? In certain countries, especially Asian countries, you'll see. Asian women, they just generally speaking like white guys. It's the beauty standard sort of a thing, you know. Um, guys, I guess like Brad Pitt or whoever else, you know. But that standard, I don't necessarily think it's only a white thing. I think maybe Asian girls typically like white guys more, but I also think that Asian girls don't like Asian men as much. Because I've also seen Asian girls go for non-white people and non-Asian people as well. I've seen them go for. In fact, one of my friends has a thing with Asian girls, right? Even so, my friend Nick. Even I've had a couple things with Asian girls where, like, I don't know why, but typically it's. If I had to boil it down, subtract all the Indian girls, the second most number of girls that would have been attracted to me in my past, in my own history, would have been Asians. I can literally point examples upon examples to you, and I don't know why, but I think it's like every time, and they have lots of options with Asian men, by the way. Keep that in mind. I'm talking like Chinese to Chinese, Korean to Korean.
Okay.
You know.
Yeah.
And you could even see this in Japan, right? Japan, the people are just having, generally speaking, less sex from what I've heard. Men just have lost a lot of their maybe masculinity. Maybe that's what it is.
I think we've talked about that on the podcast. Yeah.
Yeah, probably. And so I don't know what it exactly is, but I think that might have something to do with it. The whole genetics thing, the status thing, maybe ability for survival, just beauty standards. Who knows? You know, it could be a combination of all those things.
Okay. That makes sense, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think it's very complicated because it depends on their upbringing and their development throughout their young years.
Yeah.
But most Asian women I've met are really into white guys. They have like a white fetish.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And I'm not too sure, to be honest. I think they see them as potential mates because they want to have that high status male when they hit their 30s or when they get older.
Yeah, probably.
So they want that financial status, they want that social status, and I think in today's society, they can get that kind of higher status generally if they're very successful, like if they both work, if they are both
Right.
strong independent individuals, and
Yeah.
they're very likable, they're very social. There's a lot more opportunity there. I'm not clearly stating that because she gets a white guy that there'll be higher status in society. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that
Right.
they see white guys as a potential partner to develop with.
Right. Yeah, I agree.
I think they just see more financial gain. They see more social gain in respect to their own skill sets and whatnot. It depends. I don't know. I'm generalizing.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't know much in respect to the dating game, so
Yeah.
don't take my word for it, folks. But I want to say,
Yeah, go on.
for Asian girls, in my experience, I want to continue on that. Most of them
Sure.
are smart, and in respect to that, that intimidates me.
Oh, really?
Most of the time, yeah. Not because I'm a sore loser. I'm very competitive. It's just when a girl's very intelligent.
Uh-huh.
It makes me question, my own value. You know what I mean?
Mm.
It's like, oh, this girl's like way smarter than me. So that's kind of scary.
Oh, yeah.
What else?
I used to get into the high school I went to was hugely Asian. It was 65% Asian, and it was super competitive, right? So I remember I would have arguments with these girls sometimes, like, no, this is wrong, or whatever, and we'd be arguing, and they would have legitimate points. Like it would be like almost like, whoa, dude, very
Yeah,
intelligent,
very intelligent in respect to like social dynamics, in respect to academic dynamics, in respect
Oh, yeah.
to all these different types of domains. And
Yeah,
they're very hardworking. In the
Very.
beginning, most of them are. They have that strong background in respect to being disciplined and having that pressure from family, and they're very much what's the word I'm looking for? They're kind of pushed. You know what I mean?
mm.
They're very much pushed into a lot of these successful domains,
Right.
and they always push themselves often too.
Definitely. Would you say that you would be interested in like being with an Asian girl long term?
I've thought about that, and it's very complicated to be honest.
Right, right.
First of all, if I do end up getting into a long relationship with somebody,
Yeah.
um, if that girl was Asian, um, I don't know. That makes me want to bring in my own experiences. But then again, it
Mm.
could be really different when we actually meet and we get to know each other.
Yeah.
But to answer that question right now, I think it would be very complicated and very difficult.
Right.
Not in respect to like that we won't have general desire for each other, but just in
Mm.
respect to um, the experiences I've had with a lot of Asian girls. Because I've noticed that I'm not that attractive in respect to a lot of Asian women.
Mm.
I'm usually
Okay.
not that kind of that guy in respect to like meeting an Asian girl. Um,
Okay.
that's just what I've noticed, and it's
Right,
kind of just
right.
what it is. What it is, right? You can't negotiate general desire. So
I
I'm like, all
agree.
right,
Yeah. Yeah.
no problem. Um, so if it does happen, I'll let you know. But so
Definitely, yeah.
far, nothing.
I definitely think dating an Asian girl is a different experience.
Oh yeah, how so?
So I would say one, you're right. Like the whole intelligence thing, like you can, I think,
I think they're very selective. But go on. Sorry,
yeah, no, no, I agree, I agree. They probably are, and I
they're
think
probably
a
one of the most
part of
selective girls. Yeah.
yeah, part of the reason is right. Like if you go back to the whole concept of hypergamy, hypergamy never seeks its own level. It usually goes for something that's better than it. So if Asian women are very intelligent for the generally speaking, right? They're very hardworking and whatever. They will generally speaking try to find a guy that is smarter than they are or more hardworking than they are. And that is not to say that, it's like I know people will say like, oh well, it's okay, if the woman it doesn't make as much money as the man or something like that. Like, don't be egotistical and whatever. I have no problem with that, but I know for a fact that deep down, a lot of girls they don't feel comfortable dating a guy who may not make as much money or not be as smart or not be as
Yeah.
uh, whatever
Some
it
guys like
is.
really
Yeah.
dependable. Yeah. That's very
Yes,
unattractive.
yeah, it's super unattractive, 100%. It's not at all this masculine quality or trait, either. So hypergamy again will seek some level above it. Now, this I think we might have had this conversation before, where the and this is going to sound really weird, and I don't know how, but it is. I can see how it can be true. A lot of
All right.
girls, the more and more they get educated, if hypergamy it really doesn't seek its own level, if hypergamy truly is like real, let's say, under that assumption, the more and more a girl gets educated, the less and less options that she has for guys. You see
Right.
what I'm saying?
Yeah, we've talked about that before.
Yeah.
Theory in place, and it just kind of makes sense to be honest, because when they get more and more educated and they become more and more successful, they
Hmm.
don't need a type of support from a man, essentially. So
Yes.
very independent women who don't need no man. But
Yeah.
it's it's true in the sense that in respect to hypergamy, women generally want a stronger man. They generally want
Hmm.
some type of uh, not dominating figure, but a type of assertive figure, a type of strong figure
Yeah.
that is not only independent, but who also provides
Yeah.
uh, a bunch of different dynamics and benefits to the girl.
Right. I
And
agree.
this,
I agree.
yeah, and this makes him desirable as a husband. This makes him desirable as a personal partner down the way.
Yeah. This is
Yeah,
really, I think if we dig deeper into this, so I remember reading a chapter in The Rational Male talking about how women typically, their fantasy is actually to find a guy who has both alpha fucks and beta bucks or alpha seed and beta need together in one guy. They
50
want to
Shades of Grey.
find Mr. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Basically, they want to find Mr. Perfect, right? If you think about it, 50 Shades of Grey, the guy's a billionaire. The guy is apparently a mystery because he's tormented on the inside or whatever, right? He's an attractive guy, right? He's very lean, very like, good looking guy and whatever, right? Also has that assertive sort of, obviously sexually he's assertive. That's like an attractive thing to women. I actually talked about this with my ex too, and she agrees. So, but that's besides the point. But point being is that they want to find the same traits, alpha fucks, beta bucks, in the same guy. But nowadays, what the problem is that girls have to almost separate guys into these two categories, even though they don't want to, because when you have one, you typically don't have the other completely down. It's very tough to have both, right? It's rare in a guy. It's not impossible, but it's sort of rare, to have that rich guy who can provide for you financially, who's also there emotionally, who also has good genetic potential, who also has it's like a whole list that goes on and on and on. And girls, like we talked about this before, girls are very selective, right? Now, girls will assort themselves into their own dominance hierarchy, and a lot of that is based off of social status, right? This is a huge reason why girls play the whole status game, is they get to be more selective the higher up they are on the female dominance hierarchy. So, as they, it's like the queen, right? Like the queen is very selective. She gets to select what guy she wants to be with for the most part. And so I forget the main point of what I was going to try to say here. Oh, they want to try to find the same guy. That's why they have all these like fantasies, right? They have like Beauty and the Beast. The whole archetype behind Beauty and the Beast is you have a guy who's a mystery. He's a beast in a certain sense. He's like very like alpha, I guess. Like he's very aggressive. He has aggressive tendencies. Maybe it's due to high levels of testosterone or whatever the case may be, right? And the girl wants to bring him down to his knees or bring out the beta buck side of him. Now, here's the thing, right? Every girl's fantasy is not to turn a beta into an alpha. It's to turn an alpha into a beta. That's the dream and that's the fantasy, right? She has this sort of a... That's why they're attracted to the mystery, right? The mysterious alpha guy who they want to get into a relationship with. Obviously, that's at odds with the sexual imperative of males, which is to spread the seed. And if he really is an alpha, it's going to be tough to lock that guy down, Anyways, I'm like literally describing the whole dating dynamics here, but forgot the main point of what I was trying to get at here. But they want to find these traits in one guy, and they typically can't nowadays because lack of more masculinity. We can talk about all the effects, but they've had to sort of decide in their minds that there is no perfect guy, that they have to separate guys into two categories now, which is the whole alpha and beta dynamic. And so they use one guy for providership purposes, emotional security, financial security, whatever the case may be, and the other for genetic potential. So
most of the time, I think females are they're experts on separating guys. So
yeah,
allow me to explain. So when they have a lot of guys that they talk to, just in general, like whether it's a classmate, whether it's an acquaintance,
yeah,
just people they know. Like maybe they're in the same club, maybe they're on the same team, who knows? But
right,
women are very selective. What they do is they divide a lot of the guys into a lot of categories. So maybe there's definitely an alpha pile.
right,
There's a beta pile. There's a maybe pile. There's a
yeah,
somewhat beta pile, but has potential to be an alpha pile. There's
yeah.
also the somewhat alpha pile, but most likely beta pile. So,
Oh yeah.
so much divisions are made inside their minds in respect to social dynamics where it's almost as if each guy is treated as like an investment, right? So each guy would be like a company, and they have stocks in each of these companies. And
Right.
they just see what happens overall over time to see, okay, who's the most successful, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who becomes the most socially accepted, who becomes the most financially successful, who becomes the most alpha guy, right? And
Right.
whichever company with the higher stock, I think they go to naturally.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of a harsh analogy there, but I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
that's the foundation of how they divide a lot of the guys, especially in college,
Mm.
because women are super selective even throughout college.
Oh yeah.
Um, so that they really uh, they calculate. They do a lot of calculations in
Right.
respect to which guy they're going to talk to, which guy they're going to potentially see uh, as a boyfriend or as a potential mate down the road,
Yeah.
and it's interesting to note. And they do all of this naturally. They do all this by second nature, and it's amazing how they are in the social game, in the social dynamics.
Mm.
Crazy to think about. And I think a lot of women would argue that guys do the same thing. Do they? Do they not? I'm not sure.
Wait.
Uh,
Sorry, that last part again. Could you say that last part again?
I think a lot of girls would argue that guys do the same thing in respect to that foundational analogy, where they treat each girl or they divide a lot of the girls into different categories.
I agree to a certain extent on that. I don't think we're as selective as girls are, but I for sure know. Okay, so I'll tell you this. One of the
I think
tactics
it's
that
because of the testosterone, but go ahead.
oh yeah, 100%. Like we testosterone, increases our sex drive, and we're maybe not as selective, because we just want to like
We're
we
not as
just
smart.
we'll
Or,
go
yeah.
like with other girls, at least sexually we will, right? But now here's the thing. So um when a so even Jason Capital talks about this in his a lot of his dating stuff. One of the things you want to do when you're talking to a girl is subliminally imply that you have preferences amongst girls that you find attractive and don't find attractive. Because what that says to a girl, what that subconsciously communicates to her, is that you have options, right? And any man who has options and is actually selective about the girls that he chooses must, be higher status than her. That's the point. And if a girl seeks a guy who is higher status by nature of hypergamy, then 100% like that's how you create attraction. So
Yeah.
so you want to imply like, okay, now you don't want to be so like, oh, I hate girls like this, I hate girls like that, I hate girls like that, but you do want to sort of imply like, hey, I have preferences. I'm not just this horn dog who's gonna try to like screw every single girl. I do. So basically, for what the idea behind it is that you just state your preferences authentically. So if I was to go out with the girl and we got into talks of like, hey, what type of partner do you prefer? I would automatically tell her, look, I don't prefer needy partners. Like, I have a big vision for what I want to do for my future, or whatever the case, right? I have times where I'm going to be busy. I have editing stuff to do. I got podcasts to film. I got, this, that, blah, 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 whatever. I have workouts to do. You cannot always bug me about my time. Like, I hate when girls do that. The second you say that, it implies, number one, it implies you have preferences for types of girls. So you have created categories in your mind between one category is with needy girls and the other one is with chill girls, ones who are supportive of your mission in life, your purpose in life, and whatever. Okay. The
Right.
second thing it implies is that you are a man of purpose and vision and whatever else. You know what I mean? And it sounds almost kind of ridiculous. Like, you don't want to say it to her. You don't want to be like, you better not be that type of girl, or anything like that. But you do want to sort of subliminally imply, like, I like this and I like that. When you start to say things like, oh, it's fine, like, I love girls just the way they are, like that's such a blue pill mentality, you have to be, if you are really being authentic and honest with the girl, you will tell her your preferences, and that is actually better thing long term for you and her. Attraction goes up because you're not just like every other guy saying like, oh, I accept you the way that you are, it's okay. For me, it's like, hey, dude, I need a girl who's like somewhat physically like active, she's this, she's that, whatever. You state your preferences in a girl, you automatically sort of separate yourself like that. And I think girls do see this because but here's the thing where I would make a differentiation, right? I think the way girls think about it is twofold. They categorize guys also into guys that are selective and guys that are not selective. So again,
Okay, interesting.
going through, I went through one of Jason Capital's programs again, and one of the key sayings he said is, "This is all you really need to know to create attraction." Okay, and okay, so here's what it is essentially: girls are screening. You know what it means to like screen for a guy.
Shit test here and there.
Yeah, basically shit test. Yeah, right.
Uh,
Like to test the guy, to screen for him, to sort of yeah, to test, I guess.
sure.
Girls are screening for guys who are screening them back. So
Okay, they're
the idea
screening for the
behind,
screen.
yeah,
Okay.
they're screening for the guy who's screening. Why would that be? If we dissect that, right, it comes down to this. So we talked about hypergamy states. Hypergamy seeks a level that's above it, a higher status guy, essentially, right? That's what they find sexually arousing, the alpha male, whatever, however you want to put it, okay? So to imply that you are that male, you obviously must have options, right? And if that's the case, you will openly state your preferences without caring what she's going to think. Because if she leaves you because you have those preferences and you're offending her, well, hey, I have options. It's fine. Like, hey, if you don't like my authentic self, cool. I'll go talk to another girl who will, you know? That's automatically implied. And so a girl will sort of shit test you in that sense. She'll be like, she'll try to make you jealous. She'll try to talk to other guys. She'll try to, you know, throw shit your way and like sort of tell you you're annoying. She'll tell you
Sorry.
all these things like I hate you and whatever. That doesn't mean she actually does. She
Yeah.
actually is testing you to see like, hey, does this guy have options, or is he just sort of settling on me, or is he just a horn dog that wants to get into my pants and that's it, you know? So that sort of thing. And that again, it subliminally implies that you are higher status and you are the one in control. You are the dominant person there because you are screening her. You're the one shit testing her and making sure she's the right fit for you, which automatically creates attraction again because she wants a guy who is going to screen. That's the whole
Yeah,
idea behind what she's
yeah.
saying.
I think
Yeah.
I would agree to an extent because they would ultimately want a guy who can play the game, right? Who
Yeah.
can know what screening is or what a shit test is and how to react in a certain way. Uh,
Yes.
it's I- women don't like clueless men. They don't.
Oh yeah.
It's very unattractive. Like he
Yeah.
can be really hot, but if he's really clueless, like he
Oh
doesn't
yeah.
get like her jokes or he doesn't get like her shit tests, he's going to be very unattractive. Uh,
Yes.
so there is that social division that they do
Yep.
in respect to men who are screening and men who are not screening.
Hmm.
And I think they ultimately go for the men who are screening. Yes?
Yeah, I would say so. And not just me, but a lot of dating coaches and stuff would tell you. That's why like dating coaches will tell you like you got to make her chase you, right? Because that again, it implies that you are an object of value. You are in the dating marketplace. You have high value, and you are using scarcity against her. And this is exactly what she wants. Now, does it work the other way around? Not so heavily, not so much. It works to a certain degree, but at the end of the day, if females really are the sexual selectors in a species, right, as science usually shows, then at the end of the day, she's the one who's going to do the choosing, which is why we have all this crazy tension around rape, right? Because if a girl can't choose the guy she's gonna have kids with, like it really messes with her head. It destroys the whole concept of hypergamy because she's not choosing. The guy's forcing himself onto her. You see what I'm saying? And so society, when it reinforces the whole, that's why women have developed anti-rape sort of defenses. They need to be selective and they need to choose the right guys, essentially. And they know that guys are more physically intimidating and they can force themselves. So they automatically sort of kind of lose that power of the physical side, at least for a lot of girls. I'm not saying for every single one. But,
Well,
yeah.
yeah. I think rape just it means losing altogether. It's the worst possible way to lose,
Yeah.
right? So you've lost. Well, let's create a hypothetical situation here.
Yeah.
Let's say there's tension between a guy and a girl, and they're open to having an intimate relationship, and they're open to having some kind of sexual relationship, but things are kind of tense, and the girl's not very comfortable. But the guy
Yeah.
becomes very forward, and he ends up taking advantage of her, or something like that. Maybe they got drunk or something, or
Yeah.
maybe the guy took advantage and he timed it perfectly or something like that. They got alone at one time.
Mm.
Uh, most women would categorize as rape.
Yeah.
So I think in that retrospect, she lost socially, she lost
Yeah.
physically,
Yeah.
and she lost mentally.
Yep.
Um, so it's a very, rape isn't just, about sex. I think that's a misconception about a lot of people. Um,
Right.
it's about power. It's about, um, becoming the dominant one, things like that.
Yeah.
It's an ultimate way of losing. And a lot of women uh, go through that trauma, and it sticks with them throughout their entire lives.
Yeah. Yeah. No, definitely. I'm sure. Yeah. It's like um yeah, you're right. Like they lose. Essentially that's what it is, right? They lose control of the situation and it sucks, right? Like you have zero power in that type of situation. So, um yeah, no, that's essentially what it is, I think. And uh what else? I
It's a
mean,
very deep
yeah.
topic to have.
Oh yeah, 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 100%,
It's a very
100%.
tense topic.
Yeah, but yeah, no, girls are very selective, and they choose guys who typically are selective. That's why they ask questions like, "Oh, do you think he'll like me? Do you think he won't like me?" They go through all this like sexual signaling. They put on makeup and whatever, and if a guy doesn't automatically like a girl or doesn't show it outright all the time, he's sort of indirect about it, and there's a mystery behind it. That mystery sort of gets her really, I guess, wrapped up in the whole situation, and she likes it because it's ultimately confirming that he's not outright telling me he likes me, which automatically means he could potentially not like me, and if he doesn't like me, then damn, I must be lower on the scale than him. That's why there's this whole sort of mystery that they like, but that's the thing, they want to be, because if they get a guy that's above them, they've satisfied hypergamy essentially.
right.
So
Makes sense. It's
yeah.
a type of hierarchy, and it's always there. You can't deny that it's not there. Or yeah, yeah. Crazy to think about.
Oh yeah.
Because going back to the different races, getting
Right.
back on point here. So I was saying that I would argue Asian women are probably the most selective, to be honest.
Okay.
Because taking a macro um, perspective in respect to a lot of the girls who date and who are actively um, trying to find a mate or a boyfriend or something like that,
Right.
most Asian women are very successful.
Mm.
So, in respect to that, they become very selective.
Right.
So they're very much higher on the hierarchy, and at that point, they can pretty much uh, alter their preferences to the point where it becomes very difficult to find a guy. You know what I mean? Uh,
Right. It's
and
funny.
this,
Yeah,
yeah, go for
go
it.
go on. Just quick comment. My favorite YouTuber, who I base a lot of my editing style off of for my own private channel, he's a white guy. He's 5'5", but he's a bodybuilder, right? And he basically has all these videos out on his channel about fitness and science behind the fitness, and he pulls up studies on the screen and references certain things, and he makes a certain point on various topics on bodybuilding, right? And his girlfriend is Asian, and she's actually, I think, even a little bit taller than him, like an inch taller, but she's Asian, and I don't know, it's just side note, yeah, she's with the white guy. So that was
It all
just
makes
another
sense.
example.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Sure. Yeah. Uh, Nothing else to add, to be honest. I was just noticing that.
Yeah.
In respect to my experience, I don't have a lot of experience, to be honest.
Yeah.
Indian girls, uh, I've talked to a few, but I've never had like a relationship with any, whether it be a
Right.
friendship or a romantic relationship.
Hmm.
Uh, Other girls, black girls, I've never really talked to a black girl.
Never.
To be honest, no, they
Oh
just
man.
well, they're so rare. Even back
Right.
where I grew up where I grew up near Orange County,
Yeah.
uh, not very uh, not a lot of opportunity to
Talk to a black
socialize
girl. Yeah.
with a lot of black girls.
Yeah.
Other races I'm missing out here. White girls. I've talked to a few,
Right.
not too many to be honest. Uh, Nothing really. Yeah, kind of boring. What about you?
So, well, let's see. Um, Indian girls, I can tell you, are very complex. Actually, I can't say they're too complex, but somewhat. So, in Indian society, we grew up with this traditional thinking, and I know a vast majority of girls get this ingrained into them from childhood, and it's that they need to get married to, or they need to be long term with someone of their own race, whether it be another Indian or around that region like Pakistani. But even then, that's a little bit complicated because they even sort of say no for that. Typically, it's like within that very race, even specifically that type of Indian sometimes. Sometimes they separate them into castes, the caste system. Um,
They
uh, yeah,
cast?
the caste system. Have you heard of the caste system?
I don't think so.
So the caste system is a hierarchy that Indian society has created based on, I think, religious groups or like family groups or something like that. So what caste the caste that you're born into depends on is what will determine how you are treated in society, which is the really shitty thing to say because you can't control it. It's literally what you're born into is who you are.
It's like
And
a
if you,
house or something like
oh
that.
yeah, they have a caste at the very bottom called the untouchables. These are people that are so repulsive to society that you can't touch them. And it has nothing to do with who they are or what they've done, their actions, their consequences of the actions. It's literally who their family is, what family they're born into, which is a really shitty thing. But again, it's like a hierarchy. Then we have the Brahmins at the very top, who are like practically like saints, you know.
Oh, the
um,
Brahmins.
yeah, and so they've
Sounds very Game of
categorized.
Thrones, but go
Oh
for it.
yeah, oh yeah. They've categorized all these people into different parts of the hierarchy, and they have to marry within the same caste at times. At other times, they have to marry within the same race. But anyways, it's a little bit complicated. But with Indian girls, generally speaking, they have to look for an Indian guy. So, and we know that generally speaking, that Indian people are not so attractive, at least in my opinion. I've
Most of them.
seen,
Yeah.
yeah, most of them. I've seen beautiful Indian girls. Like I've seen, and there are some really good looking Indian guys as well. Um, the ones that are very good looking are like, in my opinion at least, maybe it's just because I'm born and raised Indian and genetically I'm more compatible with them, which is why I find those girls attractive. But the ones that are very attractive are extremely attractive in my eyes. Like I immediately want to be with them, like that sort, or I at least want to immediately go talk to them.
Genetic.
Yeah, maybe that's what it is. I don't know, but for the most
Yeah.
part, I don't really find a lot of Indian girls attractive for the most part. But that being said, for Indian girls, it is there. It's no different, right? Like it's hypergamy is still there. They're still going to seek a higher level than themselves. And if we're working under that assumption, I've been, I guess, not to toot my own horn, but like I've been sort of lucky in that sense because if Indian girls will only go, at least for the most part, for Indian guys within the Indian pool of males, I think I'm better off than a good chunk of them,
Yeah.
whether it be, being more Americanized or I guess maybe taller, Lighter skin is a huge thing in Indian culture also. Most Indian people are like clearly you can tell that they're Indian. They're brown. They're some. If you go more and more south, they're more and more brown. And I hate to say it that way, but that's the case. Skin color does matter in India. It's almost sort of like it's like a signal of how much your family or the generation before has been out in the sun and worked in the sun as a lower status, like a slaver or like a worker, in the fields or like as a farmer. So because as you spend more and more time outside in the sun, your skin gets darker because of melanin production. Now, typically people know that the more you work outside, the darker you get. And so if you're inside, you're probably going to end up being lighter skinned because you're less exposed to the sun. There's an actual science behind this, but
Yeah, I think I know where you're going with this. Yeah. So the lighter skinned, and correct me if I'm wrong, but
yeah.
they become more attractive than the darker skin? Is that essentially
Yes.
the culture in respect to
Yeah.
India?
100%. And it's like, because it implies a higher status in the family, right? If your
Right.
kids don't
Like a
have to
labor
work out in the
worker.
fields, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You must be able to work on the inside where you have less sun exposure. And that's also true for just Asian culture in general. But it's very true for Indians because we have a huge range between which skin color varies. Like Asian girls, they don't have a lot of varying skin color and tone. They're usually just like, for the most part, they're very light skinned. But for Indians, it's like all over the spectrum. You'll see dark Indians, like really dark, like darker than a lot of black people too. If
That's
you go
dark.
really south. So, anyways, light skin is one. But just generally speaking, like I've been fortunate in that sense. So Indian girls, I don't really have too much of a hard time with them. Just again, like typically it's. They either approach me at parties and will like it's not hard for me to get an Indian girl. But again, like I know part of the reason is because for the most part, their family, the way they're raised is you gotta get with an Indian guy, so they automatically, it almost kind of like trains their mind to like Indian guys more, if that makes sense. And they only
We talked about
usually
this, yeah.
yeah, and so Indian people, what I've noticed is that they typically stay within the same social circles as other Indians. A lot of them, not all of them. I'm not one of those people because I obviously talk to many other people outside of the Indian race. But I've noticed that so many Indian people, they will congregate together. They're like, oh, look, there's another Indian. Let's go talk to that person.
Let's go.
And so they
Okay.
immediately they sort of clog together, and there's a huge network of Indian people, and this is where they all mix and mingle, and they date each other, and they're friends with each other, and there's a lot of drama in that group. I'll be honest with you. That's why some few Indians that I know, especially ones that I'm close to, they got themselves out of that drama-filled circle, and so which is why I get along with those particular Indian people more, I guess. But yeah, generally speaking, like I know I have one Indian friend who's actually with the white guy. She's really into this dude, but apparently either her parents are don't care so much as if she dates outside of her race. But she's with the white guy. I for the most part, most of the girls that I've dated or hooked up with were Indian. Again, they're not hard, it's really not. And then, so enough about Indian girls, Asian girls now.
Okay.
So on to Asians. I agree with you. I think that they're very selective. I also think, like what I've told you before, for some reason I get the feeling that they're not into Asian men. And I mean they're mostly into white guys. I would say that, but if they couldn't get a white guy, then I don't. And if they really were still in the dating game and they didn't give up on it, I think they would not go for an Asian man. They'd probably go for some like Middle Eastern person or some like I don't know. I wouldn't maybe not black, but like Middle Eastern maybe, maybe Hispanic, Indian maybe that sort of thing.
I never see a Hispanic and
Yeah.
an Asian girl together.
Really
I
interesting
hardly see
because
that.
my friend Nick, he's Hispanic. He's got like his whole thing is just Asian girls. Like Asian girls love him. He loves Asian girls.
Okay.
Although that's not his only preference, but like his ex girlfriend was Asian, right? But just generally speaking, like all the girls that he dates or is usually into just happen to be Asian,
Yeah.
or vice versa, right? But yeah, no, I get what you're saying. For the most part, it's white guys, and if not white, then sometimes it'll be Asian. But
Yeah.
uh,
I think that's safe to say that's a hierarchy. It's
yeah,
for most of them, not for all of them. It's white
right,
guys, Asians, and then maybe Middle Eastern or um, maybe even Indian. Uh,
yeah.
I've seen a couple of Asian girls with black folks.
Oh, have you?
I've seen those, yeah. Um,
Okay.
yeah, I mean, it's all over the place. It's such a mystery on the desire of women and how selective they can be.
Right.
Um, I mean, who really knows?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It's a cliche now. It's like, oh, you men, you'll never get women. You know, you'll never understand us, like that sort of thing. I think that's
We're
bullshit.
trying.
I think, yeah. Well, it's funny because that was actually a saying in the Rational Male. Like, it's just like a little, like he says that's total BS. Like, you need to actually understand this stuff. You know, it's not like
Right. Yeah, you
as
can't be
complicated
clueless.
as people put it out to be, but it is complicated. But you can understand it. It's not impossible.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is not. It's not impossible. I mean, a lot of guys nowadays uh, they're not as confident as they used to be. They're very they're not brainwashed, but they're highly influenced, right? So
Yeah.
they're influenced by this over feminine society we live in today, and
Mm-hmm.
I think it's safe to say that we live in a more feminine society today than it was back then.
Oh,
Maybe like during the
100%.
'60s, during the
Oh,
'50s, maybe
absolutely.
something like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there's a lot of changes every now and then in different institutions, in academia, in what other institutions, in celebrity institution, Hollywood. Um,
Yeah.
Many changes in
Mm-hmm.
general. A lot of it is uh, shifting toward uh, feminine power. I would argue.
Yeah.
Is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? Who knows? Are they really fixing all this tyrannical hierarchies that we live in today? Who knows? But
Mm.
it's interesting to notice how the more feminine power is increasing, the less, uh, I would say, alpha slash strongmen are being developed. You know what
Allowed.
I mean?
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. 100%. I think so. It's funny when I was talking to my ex girlfriend, she actually showed me this video. She's like, "Hey, listen to this dating advice that this guy gives." Right, and this guy, the video was titled "How to." And he, by the way, this guy that she follows and was like trying to show me dating advice from, he's hard radical leftist. Okay, keep
Let me
this
look
in
him up.
mind.
What's his name?
Hassan something Pike,
Assam Piker?
Hassan Pike or Hassan Piker, I don't know, something like that. He's from
Assam.
yeah, just keep, you can look him up. I'm sure you'll find him.
Oh, Hassan. HAS
AN.
AN.
Yes.
Here we go. Uh, is he really small? He's a really small creator.
I don't think he's
Uh,
small. I think he,
Very
not
popular.
from what I know. He's very popular, I think. But
Okay,
he's very leftist, let's put it that way.
cool.
So he was giving sort of advice in terms of uh, dating and all this kind of stuff, and the video itself was titled something along the lines of like how to avoid inceldom, meaning like how to avoid being an incel essentially. And so it's funny because
Is he a comedian, or is he just like a?
no, he's an actual like political activist.
Oh, okay. Sorry,
Yeah.
go on.
So, what was I gonna say about? I think he gave like, I forgot the main point. What I was gonna say, something about the dating advice that he was giving.
Very leftist, very heavy leftist, very beta, maybe. Is that where you're going?
No, actually, in fact, I didn't get through the whole thing. We didn't get through the whole thing before I had to cut off the conversation. But um, it's not. It wasn't actually beta from what I remember, actually. But he did say in the beginning, like, this advice is for all people, not whether it be girls, boys, transgenders, whatever. Right now, the advice he was giving was actually true. From I heard the video was like on 7 tips on how to like, date properly, and I've only heard the first two. And from the first two, from what I heard, he was absolutely correct. Actually, he was talking about how we operate human nature. We operate on scarcity dynamics, and the value of a certain person will go up in the eyes of another. Based on how available you are and whatever. So now, the key here was that he said that this advice is for everyone, and I disagree with that. I don't necessarily think that this advice applies to everyone. Science has proven over and over and over again that it's different for men and women. Their desires are different. You can't apply the same dating techniques and tactics and ideas that you would tell men and that you would tell women. Women's desires for a guy are completely different than men's desires for a woman. I forget the main point that I was gonna go somewhere with this, but it
I
just
think I
slipped my
found the
mind.
video. Is it
Okay.
titled "Chad Advice: 7 Rules for Dating and Antidote to Inceldom"?
Yes, that's the one. That's the one.
Hassan Piker. Okay.
Yes, that's the
Uh,
exact one, actually.
sure. Okay. Wow. He goes against. He shit talks on Jordan Peterson.
Oh, all the time, dude. And it's
Yeah.
funny because oh yeah, I mean, we can get into that another time, but yeah,
Okay.
my ex-girlfriend and I got into an argument about that somewhat. We were just like, because I tried telling her some stuff about Jordan Peterson, and she was open to it, but like she's like, oh yeah, Hassan Piker talks shit about this one clinical psychologist who like gets into politics, and I'm like, okay,
You're
you
like,
can't just listen to everything Hassan Piker says, okay? Like you have to have a balance here. Jordan Peterson's a very smart guy, okay? Like you can't just be like, oh yeah, gotta listen to Hassan Piker because he's God, right? But
okay.
anyways, Jordan Peterson, great guy.
Yeah. I don't know much about him. He seems to be like a very small creator. He only has 37,000 subscribers, but he
On
does have a
YouTube?
big following on YouTube. Yeah,
Wait, only 37,000?
that's what it says. 37K.
Dude, that's not even that much to be honest.
Well, yeah, in respect to a lot of the YouTubers on YouTube.
On YouTube,
But
yeah.
he does have a small following though, so
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
good. He's got a lot of comments.
Oh yeah.
Uh,
All the radicals are in there.
all the radicals. I mean, I really don't know what he's like. Is he really leftist? Does he get a
Oh
lot of those
yeah.
ideas
I
out?
mean, I mean, I haven't seen too many of his things, but yes, annoyingly so. It's like he'll have someone on a call, for example, and this is actually a video a long time ago, not a long time ago, maybe like three months ago. Again, going back to my ex-girlfriend, this is the only way I know this guy. She tagged me in this one Instagram video that he put up, and she was like, she captioned it, "I dare you to debate this guy." Okay, and I'm like, fuck, like I can't debate a guy who does this, like pulls this tactic, because what this guy has done is the video that she tagged me in, right? It was a video of a guy talking to Hassan, okay, and
Yeah.
talking about, I think it was immigration maybe, and talking about how, or maybe it was Donald Trump, right? Oh, it was the KKK. It was about the KKK.
Okay.
So, something about how people on the right are like are the KKK or something like that, or they support doctrines of the KKK. And this guy was online with Hassan, and Hassan asked him, "Well, what do you think it meant when Donald Trump said, we need to build a wall and this, and this?" And the guy was saying something like, "Well, come on, like you can't just generalize and be like, yeah, he hates Mexicans, Like, sure, maybe he doesn't like Mexicans. We don't know that deep down, right? But part of the reason could be illegal immigration, right? Like, have you thought about that? Anyways, point being is that the guy started cracking up. Hassan started just cracking up and started making fun of the caller, saying things like completely ignoring what the guy was saying and just using shaming tactics, right? And I was like, this is not an intellectual debate. This is not an intellectual conversation. You were literally trashing the guy right in front of you and without considering his ideas. I can't debate someone like that, right? You can't debate someone like that. So I mean, he is sort of radical, I guess, in that sense that he just doesn't even listen to the other side. And radical in the sense that, like, all this stuff about the transgender movement and all that, the laws being passed in Canada and whatever. He's just very,
I get the image from this guy as being a kind of a cocky
100%. I agree.
individual who just loves to shit on people. I mean, look at some of his video titles. Andrew
Yeah.
Yang's UBI proposal is bad. Another
Right.
video says debate with a 200 IQ chatter. Another video says Trump's immigration speech was full of racial agit propaganda. That is the short term.
Propaganda. Yeah.
Speech debate, talking secular. He claims that his ex-girlfriend was a porn star.
Who? This guy? Hassan
This
Piker?
guy, yeah. I see
Oh.
a video here that says he's asking his ex-girlfriend some questions or something like that. His videos are very clickbaity, right?
Yes.
So
100%.
he doesn't seem too authentic. He kind of
Yeah.
feels like he's playing it up. So he's definitely acting to a degree. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I just see a lot of hate on this channel. Like
100%.
Wisconsin high school prom Nazi salute goes viral. He talks about that. Apparently, I didn't know if that happened. Apparently, it did. Who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, not much of an influencer that I would listen to. Anyway,
No, me
what
too.
we're talking about.
Dating dynamics.
Dating
I don't-
dynamics.
See,
Yeah.
see, this is how it
Oh, yeah.
happens. Like, yeah, go on.
Yeah. Let's talk about that. What
Sure.
is the antidote to not becoming an incel? We could talk about that.
Yeah, so I actually agreed with a couple of the things, the first couple things that I heard from this guy Hassan, which are, one was, I forgot the first one. What was it? He says talk to a lot of girls. He comes from the concept of guys, right? Talk to a lot of girls. Like he says you have to understand that everyone has social anxiety at one point or another. But if you consistently practice and just put yourself out there and just keep talking to a lot of different girls, you'll start to realize that you have more options than you think you do. He's like, just keep talking, right? And I agreed with him on that 100%. Like, if you're a guy in the incel community or you're going through something or whatever, one of the first tips was just push yourself to talk to people. And people meaning girls, right? Second tip was operate on scarcity dynamics, meaning, and he even said, funny enough, on his, when he was talking, he's like, I know this is going to upset a lot of people and it's going to rise a shitstorm and whatever, but you have to operate on scarcity, meaning, and I was like, wait, what does that even mean?
Yeah,
He
what
goes
does that
on
mean?
and, so he goes on and he says, human nature, the way we operate is that we value things that are less available. And I 100% agreed with him on that, especially on the guy's end. On the girl's end, maybe it's not too wise of an idea to pull that sort of thing when you're really into a certain guy. You should and you can, but not to the same degree a guy can. A guy can really push a girl away, like hardcore, just flat out reject her, this, that, and whatever, and it'll mess with her for years. And she'll keep coming back. She'll like try to, whatever. She'll do all this stuff. But that's because girls are wired in a different way. They want and desire a guy in a different way. And so, again, I wouldn't apply it to 100% girls and boys, but that was his second advice was operate on scarcity dynamics, meaning like make her work for you sort of a thing, right? And I agreed. Again, that's a very alpha thing to do. Is to take your attentions away and make her consistently come to you. That's even in the rational male, this is a strong alpha tell in the chapter Alpha Tells. There's very few alpha ways to tell whether a guy's alpha or beta. You can sort of figure it out. But from a girl's perspective, how do you really know? One key factor is how much does the girl come to you versus you go to her. So if the girl keeps coming to you, whoever she is, that's a good key indicator that she sees you as an alpha.
Right.
Another indicator, and so by the way, like again, that ties into scarcity dynamics, because if you stop talking to her and you take away your attention immediately, you just cut it off, which is the advice all dating coaches will give. Like, stop talking to an ex, or like not an ex, like when you break up with the girl, you need to move on. Like, you need to stop trying to hit her up and get back with her. If she reaches out eventually, that's the position you want that person in. And by that time, you might not even want to be with that person. By that time, you'll probably end up with a different girl who's probably treating you even better, you know? But point being, operate on scarcity dynamics. Like, take away your attention. Don't give attention too much. And that kind of even ties in. There's a quote from the 48 Laws of Power. There was some Renaissance diplomat, or not Renaissance diplomat, but some guy who said, love never dies of starvation, but often of indigestion. Meaning, if there's too much, you're going to have indigestion, right? Like, if you eat too much,
Yeah.
indigestion, all that. If you
Too much
have
is
too
too
much,
much.
yeah, if you're surrounding yourself with that partner so much, you're going to get sick and tired of them at a certain point. You need time away from that person. You need time to do your own thing. You need time to wonder what that other person is up to, the mystery behind that other person. You know, then when you do spend time together, it's more quality time versus quantity of time. So when you spend time with them, you really talk about all the things that you've been through, what you went through while in each other's absence, and that sort of thing. So again, scarcity, which I agreed with him on completely. That's one huge factor or indicator, right? I feel like a lot of these incel guys, they try a little too hard at certain points, and then they get flat out rejected, and then they they go to the forums, and then they're gonna like sit there and be like, Mexican women are like this, and like, that and that and that. It's a very hatred. It's like a hatred
Call
filled
back to the
type
beginning.
of thing.
Yeah.
So that hate, I think, stems from hard rejection or getting burned by a girl. But I think you also have to sort of understand that, and I'm not saying you. I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about just generally speaking, guys. Guys
Yeah.
have to understand that. I think the very first time this sort of thing happens, even the second time it happens with a girl, like a rejection, you need to look at yourself first and foremost. Always blame yourself first instead of the outside factors, because you have control over yourself. You have control over this sort of thing because, you're going to take control and you're going to start to understand how this stuff really works when you blame yourself. If you blame her, you're just going to go on and say like, oh, I'll meet the one day. I just got to keep going and the right one will come along. And, that one was a total bitch to me. But she may have been a bitch. Okay, that's possible. But it's also, you could have also improved on that end and asked yourself, well, how could I have kept her attracted more to me? That question shouldn't eat away at you day and night, but you should figure things out and at least for incels who want to play the game, understand the game. You know what I mean? So otherwise it's like you're gonna suffer. You're gonna you want girls, but again, the whole root of incel is involuntary celibate. That's the idea behind incel. You're involuntarily not having sex because, and there's a key word there, involuntarily. You want to, but you can't because you just don't get women and you hate them for whatever reason. This is not necessarily red pill mentality. This is black pill mentality. Remember we talked about this before?
I think the fact that we talked about, yeah.
Yeah.
I just want to chip in here. The
Yeah.
fact that their desires are so overwhelming that it's pretty much taking control of them
Yeah.
shows how much out of reality they're in.
Yeah.
They're very weak.
Oh yeah,
They're
100%.
undisciplined, and they love to complain a lot.
Yeah.
And I initially want to think, what got this group of men, I assume they're all men, what
Yeah.
got them so popular? What got them so much attention?
Okay.
I think a part of that
Yeah.
was a couple of the individuals got a little violent, you know what I mean? Like they did
Right.
a couple of mass shootings or mass murders.
Yeah.
So there's that going for them. But what's also going for them is that they're talking about sex, and
Yeah.
when people generally talk about sex, people are on board. They love to talk about it.
Yeah.
They love to talk about the dynamics of sex. They love to talk about what it is, what it should be, how to approach it, how not to do it.
Yeah.
Um, Everyone's got their own opinion. Incels have their own opinion. Everybody else has their own opinions about their opinions. And I agree with you on your analysis of the incels.
Yeah.
Uh, they're not very good at the social game, and they don't calculate as much as they should.
Yeah.
They're very impulsive. They're very mad, and they're
Yeah.
very vulnerable.
It's very
They're weak.
nihilistic, I would say.
Yeah, and they're very weak, and that's a
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah.
What I mean by weak is that they're very not like physically weak, but
Mentally.
they're mentally weak in the respect that impulses govern their behavior, and
Right.
they're not disciplined, and they
Yeah.
see hatred and everything that they can't get.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It's a
So
blame factor, I guess, or sort of a yeah. I guess a blame bias, right?
yeah, there is that. So I think people. Why do people often talk about incels? Like we didn't talk about them like a few years ago, but all of a sudden we're not talking about
You
them.
know, I would say I was actually funny enough. Again, I was talking about this with my ex. This is, I think, what it is guys are just don't know how to be attractive nowadays. And what I mean by that is masculinity itself has taken a hit because
That's
of all
true.
this like equality
Yeah.
and feminism, right?
Well, they're very
Feminism wants
confused.
equality, right?
Yeah.
But if you really boil down hypergamy to what it is women seek guys that are above them, but if they keep suppressing their own talent and what they want to do and whatever, which has been happening more and more due to social conditioning and pressures in today's society, at least for the past few years, if they suppress themselves in front of girls, who if they try to be super like, oh god, it's so funny. I was mentioning this also before, was that when you're talking to a girl, you don't want to be the guy that's like, oh, I will accept you for whoever you are, like anything is fine with me. You know, that's such a like, is anything really fine with you? Like she can do whatever the fuck she wants to do and you're gonna stick around no matter what. Like that's a very, very beta thing to do, you know. And so what I would say is that sort of talk, that sort of game has been taught to young boys nowadays, especially in the contemporary, like the past few years, because of social pressure and conditioning and feminism and all this media stuff about how, you know, you see it in movies a lot too, women empowerment, women really want guys who are, you know, who
Like
really treat
submissive.
them with respect, yeah, and submissive, and, you know, maybe not submissive, but like treat them with equality and respect.
Oh,
But then
yeah,
there's,
yeah.
you know,
Sorry, my
then
bad.
they go for the asshole guys who don't do that, who in fact almost even do the opposite, who tease them relentlessly, who are cocky and funny, who are clearly higher status than they are, and these girls fall mad head over heels for these guys.
Well,
you
they cause
know,
more
and they can-
emotion. Yeah.
Exactly. And those guys, they know how to pull the strings of those girls emotionally, and that gets them entangled in this whole mess and drama and sort of this I guess storyline in their love storyline, I guess, you know. And so I don't think guys understand masculinity and what it's about, because masculine energy, if they really understood it, if they really understood what the root of masculinity is, you know, all these traits that masculine men typically have, you know, and it's not about like, oh, I gotta grow this big ass beard and I gotta talk with a deep voice and I gotta, you know, stand up straight with my, you know, shoulders extremely back and chest puffed out. It's not about that. All right, there are certain traits to masculinity, such as stoicism, such as you know, purpose and mission and vision in life, right? That if you have and you really channel properly, right, these things will translate into an attractive man over time. And a lot of guys nowadays don't have that masculine edge that they're sort of born with innately, because social conditioning, I think, pressures them into out of it, sort of. You know, men are not real men nowadays, at least not all of them. And so I would argue that I think a lot of it is that women are not finding guys that they're attracted to, and these guys are left with their dicks in their hands, kind of like, what is going on here? You know, and then they go and complain, and then, you know, they have no idea what they did wrong. So they just want to bitch and complain all day about how women hate them.
Makes sense. Because,
Yeah.
you know, the dating game and the social dynamics, it's a dangerous game. And that's what precisely gets women so attracted to it.
Oh, yeah.
Precisely why they find these alpha guys so attractive. Not only do they cause a lot of emotion, but they also provide a lot of, I would say, like, genetic benefits
Yeah.
and a lot of other benefits. So, financial
Yeah.
benefit, social benefit,
Yeah.
all these different other benefits.
Yep.
Yeah, it's very difficult to understand. It's very difficult to apply yourself in this kind of dynamic system.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I think what really hurts a lot of young guys today is that they're very confused. Like I was saying before, they're
Yeah.
very confused because they're given all these mixed signals, all these mixed messages in respect to
Yeah.
social media, in respect to entertainment, in respect to politics,
Yeah.
and they're getting all these different viewpoints and all these different perspectives that they just don't know what it means to be a man.
Oh, yeah.
And what does it mean to be a man in today's society? It's very difficult to
Yeah.
define that kind of term because
Yeah.
feminists have their own term, their own definition for how to be a man. You have incels for their definition of how to be a man.
Mm.
It's very confusing for a young guy today, right? And
Yeah.
it's a crisis among probably the whole world, not just America, to be honest. Because Jordan Peterson really talks about that crisis going on today. So he'll give tours in Europe, and he'll have a lot of guys. There are women too. It's not just guys.
Right.
But he does have a majority of male viewers and male audiences who come to listen to him speak because they honestly are very confused and they need
Yeah.
help, try to understand a lot of things. And at least that's what Peterson did for me, is he methodically and explain a lot of the issues that's going on today, and he was able to analyze a lot of the suffering that a lot of guys are going through right now through his
Right.
experience of a psychologist. It does feel like he knows what he's talking about, and
Yeah.
he'll say things that we already know are true,
Yes.
but he'll articulate them in a way that makes more sense.
Mm.
And that's what got me so influenced by him.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a comment on young men today.
100%.
And
yeah.
we're still going through things and we're still developing.
Mhm.
Like you're still going through a lot of the social dynamic and try to date again, and you're talking to your
Yeah.
ex-girlfriend again. There's some tension there.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a struggle. It really is.
Oh yeah.
And
Oh, yeah.
do you want to maybe go further in how you're struggling on your
Yeah, sure.
tension between your ex-girlfriend, or do you want to not get into that? Or
I guess we can go into that a little bit. Probably not too in depth, but yeah, let's do a little bit. So, just the idea that she has been hitting me up, like meaning just messaging me like very consistently. Every 2 to 3 weeks, it's something new, or it's something like, hey, one time she'll just randomly text me saying, hey, do you hate me? And I'm like, what are you texting me? We haven't talked we don't normally like chit chat. We're not on a cool level. We're not like just, buddies, or what, So, I went in with this, I don't want to say idea, but like okay, so here's what I know, okay? Back in high school, I had no idea what I was doing. I went through this whole thing with my the girl that I was into at the time, and that introduced me to Jason Capital, and I got into this whole thing, and I became actually, and I don't really think I talked too much about this. I became fucking obsessed with like making sure that this never happens again. Like I was
Yeah,
like
that's a good word for it.
yeah. Like so I started listening to all of Jason's talks. I started like, just like I started like implementing literally almost everything that he says. And I found actually, funny enough, that it works beautifully. It worked so well, in fact, on this girl, the first girl that I really ever tried things out on, in terms of Jason. And so that being said, don't I don't think you can expect going into any sort of relationship with a girl to not, you have to be super stoic in any situation that you go into a relationship with. There are going to be shit tests left and right, especially if you know what you're doing. Especially if she thinks like, holy shit, this guy's really like, he might actually be like the alpha, of like, he knows what the fuck he's doing. There's going to be relentless shit testing. And so you have to know all this kind of stuff. And that shit testing, by the way, is a lot harder than passing those things are a lot harder than people think. Sometimes it's like they're so deeply psychological that you
Yeah.
don't see them coming. But then when you pass them, you realize, oh shit, it was a shit test. But at the moment, you won't realize it. You might think, okay, maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But after you pass it and you see the reaction completely change, to the surface level, to the guy, it looks almost like it's to the average guy, it almost it looks like it's so illogical, right? This is why like women have had this sort of thing thrown at them for decades and centuries, that they're super illogical, that they're not rational as men. And it's not necessarily that they're not as rational. I would say that it's that guys don't necessarily understand the functioning of shit tests and when they're being shit tested. So it seems very illogical on the surface, the content of what they're saying, right?
It's so indirect. Yeah.
They're super indirect. They're covert communicators, right? So what they say is not typically what they mean, and what they mean is typically not what they say, So I'll give you an example right now with my ex-girlfriend, right? She started saying things like, she started cracking up at the stupid, like I wasn't even making funny jokes, right? But she'll start like cracking up at them when it wasn't even funny, right? And then she'll start to sort of throw in things like, oh my God, I hate you. Or OMG, I hate you so much, Now, okay, you can obviously tell that that's not true, okay? Because I hate you is just another way of saying like practically the opposite, okay? Because when you have a girl laughing like that subconsciously, the content of what she's saying doesn't matter. Sometimes she'll even be mad, right, at a guy. And if you stick to your guns like a masculine man would, it actually turns her on more. And she clearly, this is a shit test that you've passed, because you're not, okay. I don't want to like get into the whole dating dynamics thing again and explain that whole thing, but back to the whole tension thing. Yeah, no, just tension meaning, and today I really felt it, to be honest. I really felt it, or not today, my bad, yesterday. I really fucking felt it. And it was just like, I don't know how to explain it. It's like when you're in person, you sort of feel it on a subcommunicated level. It's sort of like the extra eye contact, the sort of flirtatious attitude, that sort of thing, The tension is there, and I'm just kind of like,
I think,
okay, yeah.
Yeah, I think the tension is still there because you guys used to be sexual.
Yes,
And
yeah.
there definitely is that kind of awkward feeling on the surface in the air, and
Right.
that definitely amplifies the amount of tension between you guys. Because, I mean, that kind of relationship, it sticks with you, and
Yeah.
it's very difficult, damn near impossible, to just get back together and be friends again. I mean, they're always gonna have
Yeah.
that that past feeling, right?
100%, yeah.
So it's very tense, very complicated. Would you say that? Um, how do I phrase this question? Um, you're a very sexual person.
How so? Like, as in when I was with her?
Just in general.
Uh, anytime a girl. Okay, I'll tell you this. Anytime a girl typically hits on me or we hook up, especially I'll tell you with this girl that I was with, yes, I would say yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Like, I'm not even gonna lie about that. Um, there, I can tell you this. Like, in my relationship, like, sex was a very, very consistent thing. I don't want to say
Uh
that
huh.
so loud that my parents like are right downstairs or something. But it was like a practical. Okay, like, I'm not gonna get too in depth on this, but it was practically like an everyday thing, and this is not something like, and I because I was practicing a lot of this Jason Capital stuff too, and a lot of the things that he talked about was, how do you amp up the sexual tension? This is
Amp
what
up.
girls love, huh?
Uh huh. Sorry. Yeah. This is I never heard that before. So.
Yeah, so just amp up the sexual tension like crazy, to the point where it's like, you know the girl can't help but want to be with you sexually, and there are so many ways to do this, not just like by what you say and spitting game, but so much of your sub communications, your body language, your eye contact. There are so many ways to increase tension that when you do so, it's very clear, and the girl just can't help but want you. And so I every time I practice this, man, like, that's why I love Jason's work so much. It's because I've practically applied it, and it works so well. I don't think I've applied anything else to my life so and seen such effective results from it. Like, practically speaking, let's put it that way. So that's why, yes, you're correct. Like, that's why there's so much tension in, uh, there's a lot of tension because of that, I guess. And a lot of the memories associated with that.
Yeah, it's hard to get those
Um,
memories out, or at least not recall them when you're together. Just like
yeah,
maybe hanging out,
100%.
probably. Yeah.
It doesn't help that she was wearing a ton of makeup on either, and all this kind of other stuff too.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, calling it out. What's makeup really for, folks? We could talk about it. We could talk about that in a different
Oh,
podcast. But
God.
I didn't mean to start some hate right there. But
No.
yeah, I get it. I understand.
Yeah.
Yeah, the memory's still there. Hard to get out.
Yeah.
It's it's very difficult. Yeah. I mean, is there yet? I've yet to meet a guy who was like, uh, who would say like, "Oh no, I'm not very sexual. Like, I don't like sex in the relationship."
Yeah.
Um, is it kind of a necessity in a relationship when you're young? Because
Yeah. Go on.
I think for most girls, it's just not desirable to have that kind of sexual intercourse, or
Mm.
that kind of sexual dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but for guys, it's often, probably too often, uh,
Right.
it's desired, right? So there's that conflict between the two.
Right.
Um,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
So I'll tell you this from what I know. So yeah, you're right. Like, girls, they're, even if you look at it from a physiological level, their testosterone levels are 1/15th of the level that men's are, right? And that's typically the main hormone that regulates your sexual desire and needs. But I'll tell you this. And so, yeah, you're right. Guys, for the most part, if you ask them and if they're honest with you, they'll tell you, like, yeah, sex is 100% a thing that I would want in a relationship. Not only, I think, and it's sort of a dangerous path to go down, I'd say, but
how so?
if you're, well, so what I mean is dangerous in the sense of okay, so guys will seek sex in a relationship for two reasons, right? One is because they want it. Number two is because they seek validation from it. Okay. Maybe they want to tell their buddies, like, yeah, man, see, I hooked up with this girl, and, like, how, like, guys are, they always, like, want to compare, and they're always kind of like, see, I slept with this many girls, and, like, it's like a fucking dick measuring competition or something, and I'm like, I don't care, man, But I think in a relationship, I think it's important. I'm not saying it's like the number one important thing, but I'm definitely going to tell you, in my opinion, it's very important, because it defines a lot of things, right? It ups the intimacy between the partners. Um, it sort of cements a lot of things in, and not only that, you as a man you feel more satisfied. Just like that's just, I think that's what it is. Like partially, their studies have shown. It's so funny how this. Have you heard of Jordan Peterson's idea of positive feedback loop? Do you remember he talked about that in 12 Rules for Life?
Positive feedback loop. Vaguely. It's been a
Okay,
while.
so this was in the dominance chapter, the hierarchy chapter, lobsters.
Yeah.
So typically what happens is when a guy wins at anything in life, his hormones start to change a little bit. And those
Oh,
hormones will help him achieve more victory, which becomes a positive feedback loop over and over and over. So if you're more likely to win, then you're going to see more of a boost in, let's say, serotonin, which or testosterone, or some of the, chemicals that, or the hormones that, make you feel certain ways. This is why so what happens is sex typically increases testosterone a lot, like actual sexual intercourse does, and so when that happens, it automatically, like, a lot of the people say that your work becomes more effective because you're sexually satisfied, right? And when that happens, you can focus more on that. Now, obviously, there's the girl on the side, like, who, might bug you for, like, all this kind of other stuff, which is where the whole meme comes from. You know how, like, guys are just like, hey, we just want to have sex, man. Like, why do you have to talk after? Why do we have to, like, go on dates? And why do we have to, like, do all this other stuff, So
okay.
I think that's where the whole meme comes from. And then girls will say, well, oh my God, guys are such douches. They just want to, they just want to have sex and that's it. Like, they don't want any to pursue much more. I think in a relationship, it is very important, though. I don't think that girls don't want to have sex. I think it's that they want to have sex with the right guys. That's the whole point of separating guys into alpha fucks and beta bucks, right? But that being said, because they're super selective, they don't necessarily feel that attraction, that sexual attraction for a lot of guys. And this is exactly what Jason teaches in a lot of the things, right? Are like some of the things that guys will not even dream or think about in decades of thinking about this, all these little subliminal things that will get a girl turned on. And I don't know, dude, like, it's just how to basically master tension. And this applies not just to turning girls on, but it applies to a lot of other things like charisma, body language, all this other stuff, that if you can master a few of these cute skills, you can translate it into you just being a more attractive person in general. One example being eye contact, let's say. A guy who can make strong eye contact, but not too strong to the point where it's creepy with a girl, is seen as genuinely attractive because it shows he's confident and he can handle the tension in his body, right? Because if typically, major reason that guys cannot make eye contact is because they can't handle tension on the inside. There's a lot of tension when you're looking into the eyes of someone else, but when you look a girl in the eyes and you can keep it there and hold the tension, it actually has been shown to turn her on a little bit, and attraction spikes up because it shows an honest signal of confidence and alpha characteristics, and strong, I guess, just male, things like that, and then that translates into charisma because any guy who can make strong eye contact is very charismatic, typically, Anyways, I'm rambling on, but sex is important in a relationship.
Yeah. Final point. Right.
Yeah, yeah,
I think I forgot what I was going to input this, but I'll just say it now.
yeah.
Uh, what makes a lot of men so hypersexual nowadays is that they have access to a lot of entertainment that sends them the wrong message, and a lot of pornography. I don't think a lot of it is natural, to be honest.
Mm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
so with respect to a lot of young guys developing as they're going
Right.
through high school, when they hit puberty, and then that whole fiasco starts.
Right.
Uh, I think they get this wrong idea about how to expel that kind of energy and how to go about sex in
Right.
general, how to be sexually active. Because they get that wrong idea from a lot of entertainment, a lot of social media, a lot of politics, and a lot of pornography.
Yeah.
Um, so I think that's an issue right there.
I
And
agree with you. I
yeah,
agree, actually. Pornography, it's been shown to be very bad if you excessively take it in and use it to release the tension in your body,
define
right?
excessive. Yeah,
Excessive, I would say, on a regular basis. Like
regular
it's
basis.
like something that when you watch, it's like I don't know what number to give really, but if you watch it on a regular basis to the point where if you watch it you're not getting as stimulated as you were before, that's bad because what stimulates that tension and you wanting to watch that is pornography is the dopamine in your brain. And
Right.
dopamine receptors when you okay, so what happens is essentially I'm going to give you a quick breakdown
Science.
here because we want
Yeah.
to end this episode, but the idea
Oh,
is this, right?
did you want to end it soon?
I mean, we can keep talking for a
I can
while
keep
if
talking
you
if you
want.
want. Yeah, I'm
Okay,
down.
cool. Sure.
I got nothing else.
Okay, cool. So, the idea is okay. Have you heard of the NoFap movement?
Oh yeah,
Yeah. So
we'll talk about
that
this.
is something that I recommend every guy try at least once
Do you try
in
it?
their life. I've tried it once, and I went 2.5 months actually.
You went 2.5 months. Damn, it's longer than me, bro.
Yeah, dude, it was hard to trust me. It was a lot more difficult than I thought it would be.
Oh yeah.
But it's usually the first 3 weeks, I think, 2 to 3 weeks. That's like the hardest. After
Yeah.
that, it becomes like okay, it's like this is a normal thing. Um, but here's the thing, right? There are benefits that come with it. You stop watching pornography. You stop, wasting, I guess, this sort of. So there's a lot of contradictory evidence to what I'm about to say. So I can't say that this is for sure true or 100% scientifically accurate or true. I guess that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
So in his book Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, he basically talks about how there are 10 stimulus factors in the mind of any human being. These are 10 ways to stimulate people into action, to make them do things, right? To make them propel themselves forward in their life, to make money, to I guess, do work and to be strong and active and whatever. Okay. These 10 factors are actually ranked in order, and the number one factor is actually sex. And so
Oh
what he
yeah.
was saying was you need to, yeah. So a lot of the important nutrients apparently that are available from semen is like zinc and these different minerals that your body actually needs. And it's better to save those if you're not going to be sexually active. Then you don't want to use it on pornography and just like waste time and waste energy and waste effort. And not only that, but ram your brain with consistent dopamine that's not natural, because every time you watch porn and you masturbate to it or whatever it is, your brain gets a hit of dopamine as if it thinks that
You're
you're
having
actually
sex.
getting laid. Yeah, yeah, exactly. You're
Yeah.
actually getting laid or having sex, right?
Yep.
And
It's
so
virtual. Yeah.
exactly, but it's virtual. So your brain thinks it's engaging in sex and whatever, but it's shooting up the dopamine levels that are supposed to be there as a reward for you when you actually have sex, right? But when you virtually have it, the stimulus becomes less and less and less because your brain just cannot handle all of that dopamine. It's unnatural. So what it does is it damages, I don't want to say damages, but it reduces the receptors. So you need a higher stimulus to get the same arousal. So that's why guys become addicted, is because they watch more and more and more, and eventually gets to the point where it's like not it's not as stimulating as it used to be. So they watch more intense pornography, and they watch even more and more intense pornography. Eventually, it's just like, dude, like you're just wasting your life and your time, and you're it's not a healthy thing, especially if it's an addiction.
Yeah.
I think.
Would you
I
say
don't think
watching
it's.
porn is not healthy in
I
general?
wouldn't say. I wouldn't say. I mean, I'm not like a professional here, so I'm not telling it guys to take my advice word for word. But I am
Okay.
saying I don't think it's unhealthy to watch porn every now and then. I do think it's unhealthy if it's on a regular basis, though, and if you use it to release tension, I guess. And what I mean by regular basis is like, I mean, if I had to give a number to it, like maybe, I don't know, daily or twice a day or so.
I
I
think it would
don't
be
think
a
that's.
problem if it starts replacing actual interaction
Yes.
between human beings.
Yeah, yeah. That could 100% be another indicator or marker.
That makes sense.
So,
Go on,
yeah.
go on.
Yeah, no, I just think it's very um, important for porn and masturbation not to be a release of tension that's like, your go-to, like when you're having problems and you have to deal with those problems, but you just kind of want a way out. You just want to like that's typically a lot of the route a lot of people will go when they don't want to deal with those problems.
You mean a lot of stress, like a lot of tension in your life?
Yeah, yeah. Which I mean,
Okay.
again, like I don't think it's bad if it's done in moderation.
Yeah.
But if it's done excessively, then it's like that's when it will become a problem, and it's wrong and it's bad.
Isn't that
Um,
unattractive? Isn't that unalpha to
100%.
treat
Absolutely.
or to use pornography on a moderate level, even at all?
Well, I wouldn't say at well, no, I wouldn't say moderate level, because I mean it depends on how sexual. I guess maybe. I mean,
Depends on the
if
person.
if you're talking about like alpha, like super crazy alpha, then it's like
Then
he's
it's
probably
no,
getting laid
right?
every fucking night, and he
That's like
doesn't
Jason
need porn.
Momoa, right? So
Yeah, Jason Momoa, right? Like then you don't need porn. You get laid every freaking night, like. But if that's okay, I'll tell you this.
uh
There was a chapter in the Rational Male which talked about if you excessively masturbate, your pheromones change, and your pheromones are the sort of scent that you give off, and there are certain scents that are very attractive to girls, and this is a clear indication that you are more of an alpha guy. And there are various reasons your pheromones can change, whether it's excessive amounts of masturbation, will immediately tell a girl that you are beta from this pheromonal level, I guess, or pheromonal level.
can
Then
girls?
there, yeah,
Sorry, I didn't mean to
go,
cut you off, but I wonder
yeah.
if girls can actually detect that. If they have like a genetic meter that goes
They
off,
they
like, oh, this guy masturbates.
well, I don't know if it's like that, but I think what it is that guys who excessively masturbate, you can sort of,
I
at least
think it's
girls
pretty
can sort of,
obvious. Yeah, like
yeah,
the way
girls
they act socially, how they
ex-
handle themselves, body.
100%. They're
Yeah,
awkward more so, I guess, and it just they have key indicators, and not only that, they can sort of, I don't want to say they can
body
smell
language.
it, they can't, but they can sort of sense it.
They can smell
When
it.
yeah, they can smell it in your pheromones.
Yeah,
Have you heard of
they can detect it.
the smelly t-shirt study?
Oh yeah, I've heard of that. Where women actually detect who is like an alpha guy just by his like odor.
Scent. Yeah, the odor. Yeah, which one was more attractive to them?
Yeah.
Um, so basically, they don't like think to themselves like, oh, this guy masturbates a lot, that guy doesn't, or that guy's an alpha male, or that guy's not. It's
No, they don't.
basically, wow,
Yeah.
I think that guy's attractive, and I think this guy's unattractive. Then they don't really they kind of just stop it there. It's like, why do I think this guy is attractive or that one is unattractive? They don't really think that. It's just a natural response to them.
Right.
It's very subconscious, I would say.
That makes sense. I mean, uh, I think pornography is a lot of it's a part of a lot of guys' lives,
Yeah.
especially our age,
Hmm.
and it pops up every now and then, and I think it's there's a lot of talk about it being healthy,
Mm,
and it's like, oh, it's okay. It's like a social norm. Like even women do it. Don't feel
right.
ashamed about it, even though it's a very shameful thing to do, but no one really talks about it.
Yeah.
And the stats are in. There's a lot of people who contribute to these kind of um, say markets in general.
Mm.
Isn't LA the porn capital of the world or something like that?
Yeah, I have no idea. Is it? I wouldn't be
That's
shocked, to be
that's what I
honest.
hear, to be honest. And I think it's because there's a lot of filming companies down there that produce a lot of pornographic films or just
Right.
content in general.
Yeah.
Because it's like high end, it's like high
Production.
status production there, and there's a lot of celebrities and things like that and whatever. Um,
Right.
yeah. Let's see, where was I going with this? Oh wait, no. Here it says, I have an article up. How LA's Porn Valley became the adult entertainment capital of the world. So there's a picture here that says they're shooting a pornographic film in San Fernando Valley, pornographic capital of the world. It produces $4 billion annually in sales. Um, I mean, it's a big company. No one can deny that, and it's always going to be a big company because it's an impulsive pleasure that the internet provides, and it's so
Yeah.
easily accessible, and you know, it's it's like a go-to for a lot of guys, right? So what if they're rejected by a girl? Oh well, resort to pornography, or
Yeah.
um, maybe their girlfriend's not being as uh, uh,
As sexual.
right. I was trying to avoid that kind of term, but
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, they're not really being the girlfriend that they imagine her to be, so they turn to pornography, things like that. It becomes a problem, which is where I'm trying to get to, when it starts replacing a lot of vital things in your life.
Mm.
So, and it becomes a very dangerous activity to indulge in,
Yeah.
because it can become addictive, and it can become uh, very self-destructive. There are some guys who go down a slippery slope where they go into a lot of like weirder and weirder fetishes, and
Yeah.
there's that talk of like online. I don't know. They talk about it like on Instagram, like, oh, what's your favorite fetish, or what's the
Yeah.
weirdest fetish? It's like, all right,
Right.
there's that kind of talk going around, especially among the millennials, um,
Yeah.
and a lot of young people too. Uh, yeah, I mean, I agree with you on like the number one motivator being sex.
Yeah.
Yes, that's a strong indicator of like a biological uh, trait in respect to humans.
Hmm.
Um, but I think that applies mostly to guys. I don't think that applies mostly to women. Like,
Hmm.
what's the main motivating factor for women?
That's a good question. Well, I'll give you an example. This is getting a little personal, but it's fine.
Okay, yeah,
My ex and I, we watched porn once together, just once. It was
sure.
just, and she suggested it. Actually,
Isn't
it
that
wasn't
like
even
a
me.
couple thing to do? Like, I hear that's a normal
Yeah,
step to take together or something like that.
I guess I have no idea, to be honest.
I don't know
She
either.
just randomly suggested it out of nowhere once, and I was just like, "What? Why?"
Why?
She's
Yeah,
like, "I don't
that's a
know. I
good
just think it
question to
would be
ask.
fun. Like, I just think it would be like take it to the next level, kind of a thing." I was like, "Okay, great.
Next level.
Why not?" I didn't enjoy it myself because that's just a little weird, in my opinion. I would rather focus on her than the
I
the
agree.
screen.
I would feel the same way, to be honest. Yeah.
So, um, yeah, but she doesn't. Yeah, I would ask her that. I was like, "Do you watch porn?" And she's like, "No, I don't. Like, it's not really a turn on
Hmm.
for me." And you know what it is? I think it has. And don't quote, like, I'm not an expert here, but from what I remember reading about, guys are more visually stimulated, right?
Yeah.
We've like girls that, the way guys shit test a girl automatically in the brain is hip to waist ratio, things of that nature. Can this woman is this woman healthy to be able to hold my child, right?
Genetic
Like
wise, yeah.
that's, yeah, exactly. Um, So now, for me to like invest my time and effort into her, but point is, what was the point I was gonna make?
You were watching pornography with your ex, and the motivating
Oh,
factor for men was like genetic figure. That's very
yes,
good to look
I
at.
remember
For
now.
women, it's I think I want to guess.
Sure, sure.
For women, it's what is it? It's communication.
Yeah,
Somewhat.
it's more words, it's more the
Yeah.
content, it's more the sub language, the second language, which is
Yeah.
sub communications.
So
Um,
communications.
which is what I mean. If you look at the best dating coaches, though, this is what they'll tell you. Again, Jason Capital, hashtag Jason Capital. I'm like totally fucking marketing
Sure.
for this
Yeah.
guy out here
I
right
know, right? You're
now.
doing free publicity. You're not even getting paid for it, dude.
Seriously, man. But the idea being is that they look at everything but the content, everything but the visual. It's like almost like women get turned on more by words, or not by words, by
The
uh
drama, the
yes, it's the
yeah,
context that they
the
get turned on by.
context. Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not the actual content. It's not the very logical portion of it.
It's the context.
Um,
Yeah.
Exactly, and I think part of the reason that is because species in general, any species, when you have a masculine and a feminine, male female sort of uh, sex difference, one typically makes up for the other, meaning one's strengths are where the other's weaknesses lie. Meaning there are certain strengths that men have that women don't have. There are certain strengths that women have that men don't have, and vice versa. And all this kind of stuff for weakness also.
Right.
I remember this one talk Jason was having where he said, if you do have a long-term girlfriend, you want to be able to pick out one that intuitively kind of sees your blind spots. And there are many girls that can do this for you. Essentially, if the girl is feminine and she really understands sub communication on a very deep level, which most girls do naturally, but there are some girls who are very good at it. They can see masculine the blind spots of a lot of guys. They can help pick out a lot of the blind spots. So anytime you're making a decision about something important, he says, you want to make the decision at the end of the day. It's your decision, but don't think for a second that you have to completely ignore her input, to be this super macho alpha guy. Like, you should take her input into consideration and then make the decision at the end of the day, but take it into consideration because she's going to see your blind spots. And I think that has a lot to do with this feminine sort of way of looking things, which is different, They just tend to like things that guys are typically not into. It's like the typical cliche, but feminism a lot of the times nowadays will raise girls and boys to think that they're the exact same. When I don't think that's necessarily true. And I think
You
that's
think
pretty obvious.
that's affecting the social dynamic in respect to dating? I think.
Yeah.
Because when it comes time for serious relationships, I think those individuals who were brought up in that kind of environment where like every gender is the same, like there's no such thing as gender or something like that, or men and women
Yeah.
are the same, they're going to be very confused on like what are the roles and like what are the traits of each person. It's not going to end
Right.
well. I know that. uh, Going
Yeah.
back to your story,
Yeah.
which was kind of personal.
Oh yeah.
So
So yeah, go on. Yeah.
that's pretty much the whole thing, right? It was just like it was awkward.
Well,
You want
on my end it was, and we didn't really do it again because I told her I didn't want to. I was like,
right?
I don't think
Yeah.
this is a good idea. It was just not at all fun for me. But, I mean, I don't even think she was really into it either, and not necessarily because like it's not something like it just didn't work out for us. But I think it was because her as a girl, like girls typically are not into porn as much as guys are. And that's just because guys are so much more visually stimulated, and we know this, right? But
Yeah.
even she said like, look, like I was only trying to watch it to see if you liked it, like I wanted to see if like it would help, it would like make it better for you, you know. But for me, it's like I don't even care because I don't even normally watch it. It's just not stimulating for me, right? I'll tell you this, and this is getting really personal, okay?
Sure.
But I think it's not like crossing, you know, whatever boundaries or whatever. I hope to God she's not listening to any of this.
Hope to God. Yep.
But there was one time where I was texting her I was back at UCLA at this point, and I literally just kept texting her the most like dirty things, okay?
Sure.
And she was literally this is like her version of porn. And I was like, what is going on here? Like, this would not turn me on at all. Like, these are just words. But when I was texting it to her, she was like, dude, like, you need to keep fucking going. Like, you need to not stop now. Like, keep texting me, like, all these things that you're saying. And I literally went on for, like, an hour. And it was just, I enjoyed it, actually. I enjoyed doing that. But, I mean, for me, I just could not imagine how that would be stimulating. But at the time, I realized, I was like, okay, obviously she's a girl, she's different. You know, that's why girls read, you know, novels like 50 Shades of Grey, the fastest selling paperback in history, according to Jordan Peterson, by the way. Because, you know, this is sort of their porn. This is like just as many, like, you know, guys watch a lot of porn, and you can see, like, there's so many views on the internet and everything.
Yeah.
You realize, like, holy shit, there's like millions of guys out there watching porn. Same thing for girls. Like, you'll see, like, this novel in particular, or like the Twilight Saga, right? These stories of, you know, these mysterious men and everything like that, and like the super crazy dominating type of sex that they have or whatever. It's not the visuals, it's the words. It's so, like, the fastest selling paperback of all time, like, really, or like the most sold paperback or whatever, 50 Shades of Grey, really? Like, what was so great about that story? You know, it was a pornography of women.
Yeah.
So
that is interesting to think about. Why is it the words? Why is it the content?
who knows, man? I really can't tell you that one. That's one
I
thing
guess we can't relate because we're just a couple of chimps.
I guess so.
So stimulated by visual aspects.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, even my ex-girlfriend was stimulated by a lot of words because ours turned into a long-distance relationship, and in order to keep the relationship alive, it really turned into a lot of deep conversations over text. We never really called each other. It was always over text. And, you know, I think she really enjoyed that kind of communication in general. It's just a bunch of words communicating through just deep conversations in respect to sentences one by one. Yeah, why is that so attractive to them?
I have no fucking idea, dude.
Well, there is an idea. It's just that, you know, we can't really rationally dissect it, I believe.
Yeah, there probably is an explanation out there.
There is, yeah. But, you know, it's such a mystery. And I think that's what the words provide. It's like, it's such a mystery. Like, anything can happen next.
Yeah.
It's a story that really drives them. It's the suspense. It's the drive. It's the plot. It's the dialogue. That's what really keeps them involved.
I would say so. Yeah, it's very like. I think they say that and even the Rational Male said this. One of the greatest ways to turn a girl on is through stimulation of her imagination, meaning you have to make her imagine it. Oh, you know what? I think that's it. That's the key. Literally, I think that's what it is.
Like, keys to her imagination. Yeah.
It is her imagination. And I think, you know, why I say this is because this is one of the things Jason talked about a lot. And not only that, but the Rational Male as well. You know, you have to act in certain ways. Why do you think, like, they say, oh, girls like mysterious guys? It's because these guys, they stimulate the imagination. Things like, why isn't he texting me back? Why has he taken 1 hour to reply? Is he talking to someone else? Is there another girl in the picture?
Like, I saw him in class today. What's going on? Yeah.
Yeah, like, why? Dude, okay. When I was talking to my ex yesterday, she was telling me. So I posted a little clip of my entertainment channel YouTube video. We did something called the Laughing Challenge, where my friend Nick and my sister were on screen. Okay, and basically what the Laughing Challenge is basically you hold water in your mouth and you sit across. You sit right next to each other. Okay, and the third person, in this case it was me, has to try to make both of the other people laugh, and whoever spits out the water on the other person loses, that round. And so Nick lost that round, and I posted the video. It was a freaking hilarious video. I'll send it to you after. And I played it in like rewind like 3 times, and I posted that on Instagram, and she saw it. Yesterday when we were hanging out, she told me, she's like, "Is there something going on between you, your sister, and Nick?" And I was like, "Yes. How did you know that?"
Holy
Like,
fuck.
how do you pick up on things like that so easily? There was almost zero things that I saw there on
Initially?
screen.
Or
Yeah, like even on screen.
maybe watch it.
The thing that I posted,
Yeah.
that was like I could figure this out, but it's probably not on Instagram right now. But I can send it to you by text right now.
Sure.
Um,
Wow. Okay. I think
and she figured it out based on just sub communication.
some
And
people
I
are
was
really
like,
good
dude,
at it.
even I'm really good at sub communication. Like, I've studied Jason's things in and out, and I couldn't even fucking tell that. But you could? Like, how?
It's crazy. Maybe
Yeah.
some women are just very naturally gifted with that kind of ability to detect that kind of tension, to detect that kind of maybe sexual tension between the two.
I
Maybe
guess
that's it?
so.
Or maybe there's something more
Yeah.
than meets the eye. I don't know.
Possibly.
They do have it, and we don't.
Yeah, yeah. Typically, yeah.
But I mean, I think they do need to have that kind of trait because I think throughout history, through the tribal days, that's how they survived.
Yeah, very
That
much
kind
so.
of detection was really necessary.
Yeah.
So I just got the video right now.
Yes.
We can keep talking. I'm just gonna play it in the background here. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's what were we talking about? Imagination.
Yes, imagination, yes. So stimulating the imagination is where it comes down to, is what it really comes down to. I think if you talk to a girl about a certain thing, or you imply certain things, you pick up on, the girl immediately picks up on subcommunications that are so subtle. She can tell when a guy is truly confident and when he's not, so subtle. And when she can tell that the guy is very confident, it immediately turns her on, right? Girls say like, "Oh, I just want a confident guy." Okay, well, what does that mean? Confidence how? And guys who are typically, can have strong body language, eye contact, vocal tonality, the way they walk, charisma, state control. These are the things that Jason teaches a lot of.
Yeah.
Dressing style, the things that it takes confidence to pull off. Those are subcommunicated and purely true, because a lot of guys will, lie to a girl and say, "Yeah, I'm a confident guy," or they'll say, "Yeah, I'm that alpha guy," but they can't trust the words of a guy. So what happens is they have to trust the
The body
actions of the
language.
guy.
Yeah. His
Yeah,
eyes.
the subcommunications, because that gives away what's more true, what's more genuine and honest. Because a guy can say whatever he wants if he lies to a girl to get in, to get into her pants. But remember, she has to be extremely selective about who she's with, and she has to choose correctly. So how does she do this? The subconscious mind has to feel it out, right? And girls, they say, are very in touch with their emotions and how they feel about a certain guy, but the logic is not there. It's because the feeling comes from the subcommunications. They intuitively know this guy's confident, this guy's alpha, and this guy's not. And even when they know, they're going to shit test the hell out of that guy just to make sure that he's that guy. And he will pass. And passing a shit test, by the way, doesn't just come down to what you respond with by words. It comes down to a lot of how your subcommunications change or rather don't change, because she's gonna throw a ton of pressure on you, shit test like crazy, and when you don't budge, when your body language doesn't change, you don't fidget, you don't, your eye contact doesn't waver, your tonality doesn't change, you don't seek rapport by changing your tonality to a lower status one. Those things will immediately be truly, they'll tell a bigger picture as to whether a guy is truly confident and truly that alpha guy or not. This is why what Jason teaches works a lot. The status subcommunications. Immediately it tells it whether a guy's a high status guy and if he's truly that guy or not. And it doesn't involve money. It doesn't involve, although money can help, but it doesn't involve money. It involves everything within you as a person, right? Yeah, but I think that's why girls rely a lot on the context, right? Not necessarily the content.
Yep. We keep repeating that.
Yeah,
In case you folks don't know, that's what we're trying to get across.
Yeah,
and it's so interesting how your relationship with your ex-girlfriend, it went to so many places.
Yeah, it was all over the place, man.
All over
But
the place.
I made sure
yeah.
this time to do things correctly, because I was like, there's no way in hell I'm putting myself through what I went through in high school with that one other girl again.
That is true. Yeah, that is
So-
true. That kind of suffering was to never be met again.
Yeah, that's
yeah.
for sure.
You've definitely had more of a exciting romantic life than I have. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
you know about my first relationship where
Yeah.
that ended up pretty badly, and that's where
Yeah.
I discovered the rational male. My second relationship turned into a long distance relationship.
Right.
And then that pretty much broke off.
Right.
She still texts me every now and then, but
Yeah.
I'm not too responsive
Right.
because she's in the East Coast, so there's no hope on
Right.
establishing that relationship again.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
else? I mean, I never had much of a sexual experience in respect to my exes as much as you did.
Yeah.
Because you were much more closer to your ex than I was to mine.
Right.
But yeah, overall, I mean, I've never been that. I guess, what's the word I'm looking for? Active. You know what I mean?
Right. Right.
In my past relationships.
Definitely.
What else? Sound kind of boring to the folks right now.
No,
What does this
dude,
guy
it's
really
fine.
do? What does he do with his free time?
Yeah.
I don't do much, to be
Yeah.
honest. I mean, right now I'm just living up here in my own apartment, doing my own thing,
Yeah.
and I do struggle every now and then when it comes to intimacy. It's like, feeling lonely at times, and
Right.
what would it really be like if I had a girlfriend that was like
Yeah.
really serious, and I don't know. There are times where I like don't really think it's a good idea because I feel like it's gonna be more pain than pleasure. You know what I mean?
Right. Right.
So there's always that
Um,
idea in the back
yeah.
of my mind.
Yeah, no, and I can agree with you to a certain extent. There is a certain amount of pain that will be involved. That's why I remember, like, one of the things that I mentioned earlier was, like, you have to be very stoic when it comes to these types of situations. One thing that I can say is, if you're really intently focusing on what you're trying to build for your life, I would say at the current moment, I would focus on that. And that's exactly what I'm doing right now.
Right, we're still
I
developing.
don't-
We're still trying to focus. Yeah.
Yeah, to commit to anything exclusive right now would be, I don't want to say wrong, but it would be tougher to handle, especially if you plan on trying to do something that's going to take up a lot of time in your career, and you're trying to, again, like, you're trying to do things that are bigger. They're going to involve a lot more of your time and effort into. You're not going to it's not going to be satisfying at times because the girl very well might feel that you're not spending enough time with her, right? And I guess that could be construed two ways. It depends on where that balance lies, because on one end it could be, you're spending too much time with her. On the other end, it's you're spending too little time with her, to the point where it's like you're focused so much on your work, you don't have any time at all, which long-term relationships have a little bit of effort involved in them.
They do.
So,
They honestly do. It's
yeah.
very straining. It's high maintenance at times.
Yeah.
Not to say that's a bad thing. I mean, maintenance could be a good thing. It's just
Right.
how serious are you in respect to the relationship, and how far are you willing to go?
Exactly. Yeah.
And that question is never answered
Yeah, definitely.
most of the time. It's very
Yeah.
indirect. It's very sub-communication like in respect to the relationship going forward.
Right.
So that becomes very difficult. And I think most of the time, that's what really scares me off in respect to getting into a serious relationship, because that
Yeah.
sub-communication is going to require a lot of attention and a lot of
Yeah.
maintenance. So even that alone is going to be somewhat exhausting.
Yeah. I would say if you can handle it,
Right, if you're built for it, or if you've prepared for it, or if you
yeah, exactly,
train for
exactly.
it.
100%. There was funny enough, I keep bringing it back to Jason because, he just has advice all over the place on this stuff, but there was one video he made called "Should I Get a Girlfriend?" And that was seriously one of the best videos. I'll even send it to you after. It's like a 10-minute video, but it's so good. Oh my god. That like literally it clarified so much for me. I was like, you know what? This is true, and I can feel it, and I get why it's correct. There's a logic behind it. At least from my perspective and the way that I saw it, was the idea basically, and I don't remember exactly what was said in the video, but I remember a couple things here and there. One thing was that you want to build the foundation for what you're trying to build and what the life that you want first. And then, while you're doing that, if you want to date around, spin plates essentially, you can do so. Just make sure not to give up too much time for girls when it comes to girls. Like you want to make your priority your purpose in your career, or whatever you're trying to build here. Then when you're done with that, you've been through the dating game to a certain extent. You understand you didn't get too serious with any of the girls, but you understand what your preference is in girls. Like, the differences between girls. Like when you actually start to date multiple girls, you'll start to see the differences between them. Certain girls can hold better conversations than other girls. Certain girls are just better in certain other ways, right? You'll figure out what type of girl you want. At which point you can continue dating, and if the right girl, what I mean by that is
The soulmate.
not the soulmate. That's not at all what I want. But if a girl that you like comes along that you can see yourself in a long-term relationship and likes you back, then, and if the foundation stones are sort of there for whatever you're trying to build and whatever, and you can handle all this, and you understand all this knowledge, which most guys don't have, right? Like game and like how to properly, game, in a relationship or in just the dating setting, then go for it, But yeah, no, that video, I'll send you the video. It was such a good video. Wow.
Oh yeah.
I remember thinking that at the time. I'm like, this clarified some stuff for me. So.
Yeah. I looked at your video right now. I couldn't read anything from that, to be honest. It was too
Okay.
short, and it was hard to really get a feel of what they were thinking.
Yeah, see that exactly. Like I don't get how she figured it out. Like she's just like I just knew, and I'm like, how? She's just like, I don't know. I'm just like really good at this thing, and I was like, what?
Really? Okay.
This girl really is good. But there's a couple other things I forgot what she did, but very similar things where she just picked up on stuff very, very quickly and effectively. She's always been sort of a very emotional person, very like more on the very much more so on the feminine side.
Oh yeah.
yeah, and I would say that, she's more on the artistic side as well, and I would argue that people who are very artistic are more emotional, and she was very emotional, like very emotional. Um, so I think when you're very emotional, you're also very empathetic because you're tied to your emotions.
Yeah.
You understand, how other people feel very easily um, without even like. Oh, here's another thing.
Yeah.
So that she picked up on, Nick and his girlfriend, they broke up, and he didn't advertise this, but she asked me. She's like, "Did they break up?" I'm like, "Yes." How did you know? She's like, "I can just tell." Like Celine started posting pictures of like how happy she is and things like that, and I
Said her
thought
name.
for a
Said
second
her
that,
name. Bleep that
oh
out.
shit, my bad.
Um,
Erase that. But
Erase
anyways,
yeah. I mean, at that time, I would call bullshit because I don't think anyone's that smart in respect to
yeah, I was
how
just
that
like,
dads.
how? She's like, yeah, when a girl, consistently posts about how happy she is and, things like that, like it's like, it's, you can tell, Uh, and then she also saw the video that I posted, and she was like, yeah, I can tell. I'm like, okay, whatever. I don't know how the hell you can tell, but
Whatever. Yeah, that's kind of scary, isn't it?
yeah,
Um, yeah, Nick and I, we're saying his name often.
yeah,
We had a little conversation when you guys were test driving the Tesla.
yeah,
Uh, so we were out walking around the mall and just chatting here and there. And
yeah,
he was talking about his ex girlfriend, how they were having some tension between them, and how they had like a disagreement the night before, and he didn't really get much sleep. That's why he was
yeah,
late or something to the podcast. Uh,
yes,
yeah, I definitely got that vibe when I was talking to him. But if it were me viewing a conversation between those two, Nick and his ex girlfriend, I wouldn't be
yeah,
able to figure anything out.
yeah. It's tough stuff. I feel like I can do it decently well because I've studied it from Jason a lot. Like I kind of know about it, but some of it's just intuition. Also, like I can't say my intuition is just inborn like that crazy.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, but
yeah.
hey,
I guess it is
yeah,
intuition. That's really for someone who's very emotional, like your ex girlfriend. They develop that
yeah,
skill in respect to also detecting a lot of emotions outside of their own selves.
yeah,
That does make sense. That
uh huh,
really does. Uh, yeah, I mean, hopefully things don't get really tense right now, because since you guys are communicating again and apparently seeing each other, uh,
yeah, we've been communicating. It's just this is the first time we've seen each other since I haven't seen her like in person in a bit, like since
been a
like
while.
last November, I think. So it's been like 6 months now, or 5 months or so, if I'm not incorrect on that.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, but since then it's just been conversations. But this time she actually asked to hang out.
sounds like it. Yeah.
Yeah,
So that's a whole nother tense situation to talk about because we used to talk about that often. Uh,
yeah,
how that was whole going back and forth and everything. But
yeah.
yeah, I guess that's everything in respect to your personal affairs.
Yeah, basically. I said I
Yeah,
wouldn't talk about it, and I ended up
and
talking
you end
about
up
it
talking about
anyways.
it. Yeah, you
It's all
lied to
good.
yourself.
I'll make sure she doesn't watch this one.
Whatever you do, don't watch
Oh,
this episode.
I know, right? Oh God.
Sure thing, Parth. Yeah, it's so much tension nowadays. I think what I do to avoid all that tension, to be honest, is to really take myself out of the equation. So,
Right.
you know me, I don't really practice game. I don't study it as much as you do, and
Yeah.
I'm not as social as you do.
Mm.
You do,
As you are.
as you are, pretty much. Because you know, um, being the way I am, I'm really trying to develop this kind of disciplined uh, mindset because
Mm.
I know I'm going to need it in the future when I'm older. So
Right.
right now, I'm really I'm really sacrificing a lot in respect to, you know, uh, possibly uh, having an intimate relationship with another girl, uh, being not being as social as I could be, uh,
Right.
and in order to keep myself focused, I'm working out a lot more. Um, I'm really cutting down on impulses. I'm really cutting down on a lot of uh, like unhealthy habits. So no more junk
Right.
food, uh, limiting the alcohol, eating better. Uh,
Right.
what else? Waking up in the morning, working out, even if it's during a weekday. Um, what else? Uh, yeah, what comes to my mind is, remember we were talking about the Nope Fat movement?
Yes.
How you did like 2 months or something like that?
Yeah, 2.5.
When was that?
This was not last December, the December before that. So this was
Like a year ago?
December. Actually,
2 years
December
ago?
is when I ended. So I started October of 2000. This is 2019. So 2017, October 2017.
Okay.
I started at the beginning of the month and I ended on like December like 21st or 23rd or something like that. Um,
Okay.
yeah,
Any reason why you
yeah.
just decided not to go with it anymore? It was becoming too much of a hassle?
I just felt like there was I don't know, like there was no like particular reason. I just felt like
Wasn't really worth
I
it?
heard yeah, it wasn't worth it. And I also saw this video on how the benefits of like semen retention. Have you heard of that's the whole idea is like retaining your semen, right?
Right. Kind of like build up your
Um
power kind of thing. Yeah, your testosterone.
it, right, exactly, that sort of thing. And so I started doing more and more research on it. Some of the greats like Muhammad Ali, or some other people have actually done this, where before, like 6 weeks before a fight, Muhammad Ali will not masturbate at all or have sex at all. He'll just
Right.
hold it in for 6 weeks. Um, so apparently, it makes you more aggressive. Now, there's been studies done. There's only been a couple studies done on this, like actually proving it.
Yeah.
Testosterone actually increases on the seventh day, every seventh day after you. Okay, so let's say um, you go 7 days without masturbating, right?
Sure.
On the seventh day, your testosterone goes up by 45%, which is so from baseline it's at 145%. Um, so your testosterone's at 145% on day 7 for 1 day, and then it drops back down to normal until about week 3. Week 3 is where you see an even bigger jump, a slightly bigger jump.
Hmm.
And then if you go on too long after that, testosterone actually drops.
Oh, it does?
Yeah, because you're
Was that a
holding it in
study?
too long. Yeah, these were studies done. Now,
Mm.
I mean, I think there was like 1 or 2 studies on it, so I can't necessarily say that that's like like a definitive conclusion.
Okay.
But I can tell you from experience, after a certain amount. Remember, I told you after like week like 2 to 3 weeks, like it just became
Lowers it?
normal.
Or it became normal?
It,
Okay, it goes back
it
to
became
baseline?
normal. I wouldn't say it went down to baseline. I would actually say my testosterone probably dropped for a while,
Oh, yeah?
because remember how I told you it was very difficult for the first 2 to 3 weeks? It's because your sex drive automatically goes up like crazy when you don't masturbate, when you hold it in. You'll notice it on like day 3 or 4.
Mm.
It goes up like crazy, and you start to notice that, and you can't control. It's hard to control for, let's say, like the coming 2 3 weeks. Okay,
Yeah.
after that it becomes normal. It's like, okay, it's not as bad. It's still kind of there, but it's not as difficult as it was before. And I think that's when my testosterone actually kind of even plummeted a little bit, or not plummeted, but like took a drop. Plummeted sounds so bad. I don't think it went down that much, but
Uh,
um, to the point where it became much easier for me to contain and control. Now, I don't necessarily think that that was a good thing. I think after 2 to 3 weeks, you should release. Like, I don't think there's too much of a benefit in going that long unless you just want to give up on sex altogether. Because what I've heard, and based on what the study found, was that your body thinks that you just can't, like, you can't function sexually, so it gives up. Like it starts to slowly give up. Um,
Oh, really? That
but
was a study? Like your body just gives up on producing testosterone?
I think I don't know about it gives up. I don't quote me on that, but like
Okay.
that was the idea behind what they
That was
found.
the idea. Okay.
They hypothesized that that's what the reasoning for your testosterone plummeting was or dropping was. But over the next over like the first few weeks, it goes up a little bit because it's trying to get you to basically spread the seed, right? Like you need to have sex to like move your genes onto the next survival and reproduction, like going
Right.
back to basic Darwinism, right? So your body goes into survival mode more so, and it's like, okay, we gotta like turn this guy into a more attractive guy, up the testosterone levels, let's go pronto, you know. That's how it's like.
Right.
And it uses the semen, I think, and some of the so zinc is a very key mineral in the production of testosterone. They say you have to have 5 milligrams typically per day. You should try to get it in certain foods like meat and shellfish and stuff. And if you don't, like supplement with it, you know,
Yeah.
and because it will help to maintain your testosterone levels. Your testosterone is produced in the testicles. So
Really?
yeah, that's where it is. So guys who are castrated, typically their testosterone production stops,
Okay.
which is terrible.
Yeah.
But anyways, point being, it's produced in the testes, which is why like testes, testosterone. It's why it's like the
You're
the
blowing my
root of
mind
the
right
word.
now. Yeah.
Yeah, and so it's produced in the testes, but zinc is a key ingredient to that, and semen actually contains zinc. So what they say is that if you hold it in, if for a certain amount of time, like your body actually absorbs some of that zinc and uses it for testosterone production. But I don't know if that's 100% true. That's just what someone I heard online say. So I can't
Okay.
necessarily say that's true.
I think
But
it
it
depends
sounds
on the
true.
individual. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
The amount of testosterone production, maybe even genetics plays a role in it. But
Possibly.
yeah, I was thinking lately, maybe I should actually take
Go for it
on
and try it.
that massive challenge.
I would try it.
Yeah.
But I would go in mentally preparing for it a little bit, and also find videos online like on YouTube that will help you that will not help you that will what's it called on YouTube. There's videos that will talk about
Oh,
the benefits of it,
oh yeah.
and like the sort of the science behind it. And if you watch those, you'll be more motivated to actually go through with it. And during those times when it's like you just want to give up and you want to relapse, that's what they call it, relapse.
Yeah.
When you go back to day zero, basically, is I would go back to those videos and watch them, because I had to do that when I was doing it. I was like, okay, dude, I gotta seriously, and I marked it for myself. I was like, I'm gonna do this for at least like I don't know what mark I set for myself, but I definitely achieved it. And I went even a little bit beyond that.
Uh-huh.
So, but that was actually around the time I started taking cold showers also, and I tried that out.
Oh yeah.
That was a whole other experience, which we can talk about later. But I just wanted to like try something new. I just wanted to like push my limits to in certain areas to see what would happen. Take on challenges. I think it's fun in a certain sense, right? Like, I'll tell you this: your dopamine receptors will be back to normal after like a good amount of time.
Right.
I talked to Nick about this too. Actually, Nick has done it for about like 20 something days. So not 2.5 months, but like still, he just, I guess he also felt like it was like a reuptake in the dopamine receptors, which is good. Like it reestablishes your reward system, which is what dopamine is, right?
Right.
And you feel different, like you feel more alive, which is weird to say. It helps with social anxiety, apparently, from what a lot of people say. I
Uh-huh.
didn't see too much of a difference, to be honest, only because I feel like I don't
Yeah,
really
you're-
have a problem with that.
You don't really have a problem with that. Yeah.
Yeah, but from what I hear, a lot of people who try it out, who had those kind of problems, they found that their social skills like randomly just went up because they started having more conversations with people. I don't know why that is. Maybe. Oh, speaking of which, one quick thing.
Yeah.
What I found out in a video was the guy who I model myself my videos after,
Yeah.
the bodybuilder guy. There was a video on testosterone production that he made, and he was talking about how masturbation is actually regulated by serotonin, not testosterone. So testosterone may not necessarily dip too much or be affected way too much, but serotonin might. So serotonin actually regulates how your mood, how you feel, your happiness, your that sort of thing. And serotonin is also what regulates how you feel about where you belong on the social status hierarchy. So if you, so what they say is, you start to feel more social and you don't even know where the hell it's coming from. It might be because of serotonin reuptake, like your serotonin levels are becoming normalized again, or maybe higher. Who knows? I'm just theorizing here.
Yeah.
Don't know, but
I think there isn't as many studies produced in this kind of field, and that's kind of a bad thing.
yeah,
Because the real question is, does this nofap thing really work for everybody?
it's based so far what I've that was my problem with it to begin with, to be honest.
Yeah.
But so there's only a couple studies on the actual testosterone production portion of it. But for the most part, everything else is anecdotal. It's very anecdotal. It's like hey, I experienced this when I went through it, or I experienced this one.
it's
And there's a
very
whole forum.
Yeah. It's very subjective. It's like,
Yeah,
well, it worked for me, so it should work for you. It's like, well, who really knows?
yeah. Who
And
knows? Yeah,
I think logically it would be like, well, this idea of relapsing, it's a shameful thing, right? So it's a bad thing.
yeah.
I know every religion out there preaches that, but thinking about it
Oh yeah.
logically, personally, is it really a bad thing? Who knows?
I wouldn't say it's too bad of a thing. I think it depends, right?
If it's too much, right? Like, yeah, it's if it starts replacing that amount of human connection in your real life world.
Yeah.
So I think that's when it becomes a bad thing. But when it's moderated, like you said, then it becomes a good thing.
Yeah, I think it's totally fine when in moderation. But if you want to take on the NoFap challenge, I would say go for it. It's an experience to have. I would
Right?
say.
Yeah, that's what I hear.
Yeah, go on.
It was just for me. It's not like I'm in desperate need to be fixed or to change. It's just like
Right.
a moderate level. It doesn't really affect my life as much as actually not at all, to be honest.
Right.
I think when it comes to a lot of guys, they feel like they need this type of relief. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because they're going through a lot of shit. They're going through a lot of stress, and sexual opportunities is very scarce nowadays for a lot of young guys. So,
Yeah.
and in order to, I guess, trick your body in a way
Yeah.
to think that you are getting a biological need, you would actually, let's see, trick the body. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you're getting that biological need. But is that... I guess we could talk about this in one of our Academy episodes.
Yeah. No, that would be interesting.
Yeah, that would be interesting, yeah. I mean, yeah, doing some research on it and figuring out what exactly is the root behind all of this.
Definitely.
But yeah, I guess nowadays you just don't really care.
Yeah. I mean, I had the experience once. I think I'm okay now.
Oh, yeah?
Now it's just like, I definitely try not to like get caught up in pornography.
Right.
It's not something that I'm like, oh man, it's not a good thing, dude. Not a good thing. Gotta have pornography,
Well,
no,
I think the ideal situation for any guy is to have, okay, if I need to, have sex, then I can just go
Yeah.
to an intimate, a girl that I'm actually seeing, right? So I can
Right.
actually be in a
Oh, yeah.
relationship and actually, feel that validation and feel that pleasure. But for a lot of
Right.
guys, that's not the case, right?
Yeah.
And for us right now, that's not the case.
Yeah.
So the ideal situation is to have like a deep personal relationship with another girl. Um,
Mhm.
and I think a lot of guys who are in like the hookup culture nowadays, they satisfy that need by just hooking up, right?
Yeah.
And those
Yeah.
are a lot of the alpha guys, right? So they have that sexual opportunity, they have that sexual supply, essentially.
Right.
So they don't really need to worry about like, oh, is what I'm doing bad? Like, am I going to pornography just for my own sake or something like that? Is it really affecting my dopamine levels in my brain? Um,
Yeah.
so they don't have those kind of questions. Uh,
Mhm.
so yeah, I think the the goal is to actually uh, have sex. Is that really
I would say so.
is that the
Maybe.
end goal for
I
a lot
mean,
of
it
guys?
depends. I think for a
Well,
lot of guys, it is. Yeah.
for a lot of guys, that's kind of the norm. Is it necessary? Who knows? Uh,
Yeah, I wouldn't even say it's necessary to be honest. Unless, I mean, if you don't want to have kids, then there's really no point. I
well,
mean, no, no, no. Hold on, hold on.
that's a different. Yeah.
That came out wrong. That came out wrong. Hold on, one second. What I meant is this. Okay. You don't need to, unless you want to have kids. If you want to, that's a different thing altogether. Because obviously, sex is very pleasurable. I mean, but that is a short-term pleasure as well. Now, unless you have a consistent supply, at
Right.
which point I can tell you it's that's the ideal situation. Quite honestly, it is. And I'm just telling you based on experience, like for when I
Right.
was in my relationship, like it is 100% like it is satisfying.
Well, let's get into that a little bit. Do you think that
Sure.
sex is really necessary in your personal, um, I guess, life?
I guess again, like I wouldn't say necessary for me to function. Obviously, like I haven't had sex in a bit, right?
Right.
But I don't think it's necessary. That's why another reason why I'm not pursuing a long-term relationship as of right now, right? Um, but I would like to have it. It's not, but it's. I don't look at that as like a priority. It's there, and I would love to, right?
Oh, you
But if
don't?
I'm honest with myself, it's not a number one priority. It's like
But when
I don't know.
but when
Yeah.
but when guys do masturbate and when they do release or have
Mhm.
just going at it, don't they deep down inside wish that they were actually having sex with another woman?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
100%. Absolutely. But now the problem becomes like, well, a lot of guys maybe don't have game, right? Like that's one thing. Um,
Okay, then something needs to change, right?
I
Yes, no?
100% would tell. Yeah, I would say that. Yeah, game. That's learn game. Now you can get an overnight lay, and Jason even talks about this in that one video I was going to tell you about. The should I get a girlfriend? Um, does he talk about it in that video? I don't remember, but the idea was that you to invest. Okay, you can date multiple girls and go around and spin plates, but it takes effort and time. That's one thing you have to take into consideration. It takes a good amount of effort and time to um like to get multiple, like okay, how often do you have to be sexually satisfied?
That
Like
is
you
the real
have to
question.
be
Yeah, I think that's the ultimate
right.
question. It's like, do you really need to be sexually satisfied? Uh, is that kind of like a habit you can't go without, or something like that? Like, is your brain so connected to that
Right.
dopamine rush that it needs it often?
Right. So I would say something like, it's like how if you need to be satisfied like every day, you need to find a girl every day. You might as well just get into a relationship.
Every day,
I
jeez.
mean, and you have to be like definitely like you have to know how to turn your girlfriend on. Obviously, like you have to know a little bit of game to
Yeah,
get her to do it with you every night, or something like that. But if your sexual needs are um not if you have to have it satisfied very frequently and
right.
you don't want a girlfriend, it's going to be a lot of time and effort going out to bars and clubs and whatever and picking up girls and then having to bring them home and spend the night with them, right? And then there's the morning after. Some girls will just leave. Some girls will, you'll have conversations with. I remember one time I brought this one girl, but this is back when I was at UCLA.
Yeah.
Um, we had pillow talk the next morning for like 3 hours. And I needed to get stuff done, but I genuinely enjoyed the conversation I was having with her.
Yeah.
So I just kept talking. I was like, okay, this is nice, but that's a waste of time and effort, right? If you're, again, like going back to the whole, like if you're trying to build something or if you're trying to set your career, then find other ways to satisfy your sexual pleasure in the meantime, right? Like it could be masturbation, right? Like I don't think that's a bad thing as long as it's not excessive.
Okay.
Every now and then, like just hey, you gotta go, you fucking release. That's it.
Yep.
Like
It's like going to the
you gotta
restroom.
fucking do.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like going to the restroom, man. Like you can't help it, you're a dude. But yeah, I wouldn't say like going back to the original question. I don't think it's necessary for me to have like sex all the time. But
Personally,
I would
yeah.
like it. Yeah, I mean, it's
Yeah,
just
would like it.
yeah, it would be
Male
great.
imperative.
Yeah, yeah, oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And so the yeah, no, just it would be nice, but then there's also like relationship issues that you would have to deal with also, and that takes up time and effort. Um,
Yeah.
but beyond that, I would say, I mean, if you really need it satisfied, like you can do a combination of the two, like pick up girls sometimes and just masturbate the other few times. But even then, it's like, how much of each is it gonna be? And
Yeah, that's
while
true.
you're doing that,
How are you gonna regulate that? How
exactly,
are you gonna really
because
ask yourself what you really need?
yeah. And also, like, when you pick up girls and you actually have sex with them, like, it feels so much better than masturbating. And so you're going to be like, fuck it, I'll just go out tonight and get a girl. And that's, like, you not being disciplined on your work, and the things that you need to get done. So I think it's a balance of finding out, what you personally, what works best, and what works well for you
Right.
personally.
Yeah. That's interesting. Yeah.
Um,
In my
yeah.
regards, it's kind of different
Okay.
because
Yeah.
I have a dream that I will not really need it.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Being completely abstinent.
Okay.
So that's my goal, to be honest.
Right.
Where it's not become so overwhelming in respect to like, oh, I need to get a girl, or I need to like, just let it out or something like that. I mean,
Right.
I definitely feel a lot more alive when it's been like a
Yeah.
few weeks.
100%. Yeah.
But then, like you said, like it gets really hard and it gets really, really difficult when the testosterone increases, twofold
Yeah.
after that time.
Yeah.
But I believe it's possible that you can just, like, throughout your life, you can go through your younger years developing like, watching pornography or having a couple of girlfriends or,
Yeah.
just, letting it go every now and then, just not caring about it, being very moderate, to
Yeah.
just completely changing overall.
Yeah.
And honestly, that's my goal, to be honest, to be
Yeah.
perfectly disciplined and to be very stoic in that regard.
Yeah.
And the reason being, because I'm going to freaking need it.
I'm
I'm going to need that kind of discipline in the future, because the future for me is going to be very demanding.
Right.
So I'm going to be an engineer, and I'm going to be the as physically fit as I can be, to be honest, because I'm going to continue this
Right.
kind of workout schedule, even when I come back and visit for the summer.
Right.
So, just to let you know, yeah, that is my goal. But
Yeah.
you decided to like, not really care. Like if a girlfriend comes every now and then a girlfriend comes.
Yeah. For me, it's like, hey, if I can hook up with a girl every now and then, cool. If not, then whatever. I don't need it right now. I can go along, like, every few days, just handling it myself, that sort of thing.
Right.
I don't have to have a girl doing that. It would be nice, but again, like not something that I would much rather not have the sex and be so much more satisfied, like, with what I'm pursuing career wise and what I'm pursuing with my life, and be completely,
Like
I
focus
guess,
on your passion.
100%.
Yeah.
There's a state called flow, and that flow state doesn't really come very easily at times. And I know when I'm by myself and I'm doing work, I get into that flow state every now and then, and I'm just working, and it feels like almost euphoric. Um, Again, like, I'm not saying I don't want a girlfriend, but not for at least maybe a year or two, or who knows. And it might even change after maybe a year or two. I might even wait another 2 years. It depends on how my career goes, where it's going, what I'm doing with my life, right? Nothing is really set in stone per se for me, but for at least the next year, for sure, I'm not going to look for an actual long-term relationship.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Because
And
you
then,
want to.
even then, when I do get into the game, it's going to be spinning plates for a while, just to see, what options I have, and which girls out of those options that I really like, and which one it turns out well with.
I think your idea now, or your game plan, is to actually develop some kind of career now where you can actually put work into and then feel the rewards after. But
Mm.
I think your game plan is to actually build an image for yourself online through all of this, all these projects that you're doing.
Mm.
Eventually move out, get your own
Mm.
place, and then become a truly independent individual, where not only do you have this influence online, and you have
Mm.
this audience that listens to you, and you have some type of social influence in the world.
Right.
Um, you also be independent, right? So I think
100%.
that's the time where you actually shine, and that's where you'll actually decide, okay, what do I really need? Um,
Exactly. But I can't get to that point unless I'm, like, really focused and into this. You know what I mean?
yeah, put in the work now,
And
kind of thing.
yeah, sort of put in the work now. But I mean, it's not like I won't put in the work later. It's just, I think it's like starting off anything
You got to set it up.
entrepreneurially is a little
Yeah,
bit, it's tough, right? And to get it off the ground,
it
there's
is
a lot of
tough.
learning that you have to do, and
It's probably the most
so
toughest thing, to be honest, when you're developing through that kind of stage.
yeah.
Just setting everything up in general,
Mm-hmm.
it's gonna be extremely difficult. It's a real struggle. Uh, I
Yeah.
guess that's what's part of being a man.
Yeah, tell me about it, man.
Yep. Damn. All right. How long have we gone on for?
Long, man. 3 hours and 22
3
minutes
hours and
according to me.
20. Yeah. All right.
That's the
Longest one
longest
yet.
one we've done.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, if you want to keep talking, it's up to you. I mean,
I should head to bed, dude. I gotta get up for a workout tomorrow morning, and I did a workout today, and this one was a tough one today. I actually had energy, like a good amount of energy for today's workout, and I can already feel the soreness, and I should get like a good amount of rest tonight.
sounds good. Okay. I'll go ahead and upload this to the drive, but I guess for now, we're done.
Alrighty.
If you're still
Well,
listening, thank you.
yeah, 3 hours. That's 3 hours and 22 minutes. Long one.
Yeah. Maybe in the future we can top that.
We probably can. We probably
Probably.
can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, all right. Thanks for listening, everybody.
All right. See ya.
Bye bye.